Douluo, after listening to the advice, I became a god. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376. Tang Hao was angry and humiliated. So, Tang Hao also started to play dumb. Yin, what are you talking about? Tang-san is of course our son. And what have I done? Isn't it all for our child? Seeing that things have come to this point, Tang Hao still wants to hide something. Yin didn't want to investigate anything. She just stared at Tang Hao closely, and then spoke out all the speculations over the years and what Feng said, word by word. When I was pregnant, you just broke through to level 90. For the title of the first genius of the continent, you began to trick me intentionally or unintentionally and brought me to the human city. Isn't it you? Tang Hao's face turned pale and he wanted to quibble. Yin said again, how did you know the route of the spirit hall? At that time, there didn't seem to be any major conflicts between the Clear Sky sect and the spirit hall. I remember that your Clear Sky Hammer's ancestor Tang Chen was also a limit Buo, and he had a good relationship with the Spirit Hall's key on Douluo. Tang Hao's face turned pale again. Then Yin told the subsequent events one by one. At this time, Tang Hao was already trembling all over. He had obviously done so well. Why was he still discovered? In fact, Tang Hao didn't know. Although Yin had doubts at that time, she still didn't suspect Tang Hao under the blessing of Love Brain. After all this was revealed by Feng, Yin immediately thought of what was wrong with Tang Hao for so many years. Knowing that she was a plant-type soul beast, why did she plant her in a cave with only a small beam of light? This is not conducive to her recovery. And she hasn't brought Tang-san to see her for so many years. How come she, as a mother, has paid her life, but it's not worth seeing? There are all kinds of things. Yin seemed to vent her dissatisfaction over the years. Even Tang-san's eyes when looking at Tang Hao changed a little. His father seemed to be more wicked than himself. He could actually do such a thing, which was simply a disgrace to men. But now Tang-san was very tactful and didn't speak. Yin was still talking. Tang Hao's trembling body finally reached the limit and suddenly broke out. Enough. Have you said enough? I did all the things you said before. Are you satisfied? Are you satisfied with knowing the truth? I knew from the beginning that your true form was a soul beast. Do you think that my brother and I, as two geniuses of the Hashin sect, will have no one to protect us, young master? In fact, the sect has discovered you a long time ago. The reason why my elder brother withdrew was because we agreed. His strength was not as good as mine, so he voluntarily withdrew, and you are my stepping stone to become a titled Buo. While speaking, he also summoned his soul ring, pointing to the top red soul ring, and Tang Hao smiled grimly. Ha ha ha, this is your soul ring. Are you familiar with it? Do you want to cry? Do you still want to know the truth? Tang Hao's words were like a sharp blade, piercing straight into Yin's heart. She couldn't figure out why this was happening. Obviously, she had done everything a wife should have, but why was she still treated like this? Tang Hao's words continued. Let me tell you this. Your existence is for me to absorb this 100,000-year spirit ring without any side effects. If it weren't for you, how could I become the youngest genius on this continent? So you should feel lucky, because your value exists for me. BG and ZG, who were hiding in the dark and borrowed by Feng from Guidobuina, couldn't stand it anymore. After looking at Feng, a powerful aura burst out from the shadows. They swore that they had never been so angry. What did they think of their spirit beasts? The true form of the spirit beast appeared directly. Two behemoths suddenly fell from the sky and landed directly in front of Tang Hao and Tang-san. Tang-san was directly scared silly. Under the full outbreak of BG and ZG's aura, his pants were wet. And Tang Hao was not much better. He was known as the most talented spirit master in the whole continent, but at this moment in front of this swan and purple dragon, his body became stiff. He was furious inside. What on earth is going on? Exclamation mark. He couldn't figure it out. Why would there be such a powerful soul beast in such a place? So powerful that his whole body was on alert and felt fear. It is conceivable what kind of existence these two soul beasts are. Although BG and ZG were angry, they did not take action immediately. Instead, they looked at Yun and said, "What are you thinking? Are you going to kill them directly?" Yun laughed at herself, and her eyes became sharp. Tang Hao felt something was wrong, and his hair stood on end. He directly used the clear sky hammer, blew up all the soul rings, and flew away directly. Such a decisive operation made everyone present dumbfounded. Tang Hao's escape speed was simply unparalleled, and Tang San was panicking at this moment. His father left without him. In order to survive, Tang San forced a smile, looked at Yun pretending to be in tears, and shouted loudly, "Mom!" But Tang San's call had the opposite effect. Yun was immediately angry after hearing this name. He might not hate Tang Hao the most. It was Tang San. Why? He occupied her son's body. This alone was enough for her to kill him 1,000 times. After seeing Yun's eyes, Tang San felt something was wrong. It didn't seem like she wanted to recognize him. After thinking about it for a long time, he finally came to a conclusion. It was all Tang Hao's fault. He had to drag him here to get some spirit ring. Isn't this just looking for trouble? And he did all kinds of bad things to his ex-wife. After doing all these, why did he leave me alone and run away? He said before how much he loved his mother. It turned out to be one-sided love. Tang Hao has already died. At the same time, the blue-silver grass around Tang San's body began to change. This was not given by the blue ocean condensed from the outside world, but emitted from Tang San himself. The originally crystal blue-silver grass became even more sluggish. Tang San was shocked and looked at the source. Yun's hands were emitting blue and gold. And gradually, it turned into a sapphire-like bright and transparent color. In the center of the crystal blue, there was a golden texture, which spread from the root of each blue-silver grass to the tip of the leaf. The real blue-silver emperor finally awakened. In an instant, the martial spirit blue-silver grass spreading from Tang San's body became even more shrunk under the influence of the blue-gold light. The blue light in the air became obviously larger, and on the ground, each blue-silver grass began to become crystal clear and began to grow wildly. Chapter 377, I am a humble woman. The blue-silver grass martial spirit on Tang San's body began to dim. Under the influence of this light, Tang San found that his soul power was rapidly retreating. From the previous level 60, it dropped directly to level 50 in the blink of an eye. At the same time, Tang San could no longer bear the pressure of his body, and drops of blue-gold blood began to fall from his skin. Seeing this scene, Yun waved her little hand and returned to her body directly, looking at Tang San coldly. "Damn thief, you don't deserve to have my blood." After the words fell, Tang San's body began to shrink continuously. He was originally short, and now he lost the blood of the blue-silver emperor and became even uglier. His height even returned to many years ago, only about 1.4 meters. It was very consistent with his image of being proficient in assassination in the Tang sect in his previous life. When Yun took back this part of the blood, her body shape also began to change, and a blue-gold light enveloped Yun's whole body, glittering. The characteristics of the blue-silver grass are perseverance and tenacious vitality. As the blue-silver emperor, Yun undoubtedly showed this perfectly at this time. At this time, the vigorous vitality in her body has reached an extremely terrifying level. Her figure has become much plumper in this light curtain. Her blue hair has become more crystal clear, and many golden lines have appeared on her robe. The crystal-like long hair is so dazzling, and Yun's whole body attributes are invisibly improving at this moment. It has nothing to do with soul power. It is completely the reshaping of her body after the return of her bloodline. It is also the exclusive attribute of the blue-silver emperor. It is not an attribute that can be clearly felt, and BG who is present can feel it most clearly. Auntie is the king of the blue-silver grass clan, and she BG is also the king of the Emerald Swan clan. The two have a lot in common, that is, the life attribute. The blue light gradually converged, and Yun's heart gradually awakened. Her strength is recovering rapidly, although it is not enough to recover to the peak, because the soul ring is gone and the soul bone has not been absorbed. Now she is equivalent to a special soul beast. It is the kind of one that has transformed in advance, and its strength is at most at the level of 10,000 years. Tang San was miserable. The blue-silver grass martial spirit disappeared, and the absorbed spirit rings were completely gone. He fainted completely. Yun Feng also walked out of the shadows at this moment. Looking at Tang San's figure, he smiled. In fact, he didn't care much about Tang San's life or death. He said before that he would give Tang San a backstab when he became a god. After such a long time, he didn't care much. Looking at Yun, after the eyes met, Yun Feng slowly asked, "Do you want to kill him?" Yun was confused for a while and nodded. "I want to kill him and put an end to everything between me and them." Yun Feng nodded, without saying anything more, just stepped aside. Just when Yun raised his hand to kill, a burst of black light suddenly burst out from Tang San's body, and directly took Tang San away from the sight of Yun Feng and others. After Yun Feng was stunned for a moment, he suddenly laughed out loud, looked at Yun and said, "It seems that you can't kill him now. He has been rescued." Bai Ji and Ziji also looked terrified, because they just felt a strong threat from the black light, as if they would die completely if they were touched. In fact, Yun also felt it. Yun Feng had seen Tang San's memory, so he naturally knew who that thing was. The God of Wrath. It's quite interesting. The black light wrapped Tang San away for a long time, and came to a lake, then stopped. The black light turned into a phantom, and after looking around Tang San for a while, it made a surprised sound. "I didn't realize that this kid still had the blood of a soul beast before, but now the soul beast blood is gone, plus this character that can get angry at anyone. It suits me." "Boy, your reward is gone now, and your second test reward will be regarded as saving your life." After saying this, the phantom disappeared completely. And what he said before has been filling Tang San's mind. As for why he didn't say Yun Feng was the mastermind, with his understanding of Tang San's character, this is difficult to change. He thinks it's not. If you say bad things about Yun Feng, he will think you are seeking death. Besides, he is a god. Why explain all these things? When Tang San finds out the truth, won't he be even more angry? He likes to have fun. After seeing Tang San leave, Yun's face also rose with a trace of annoyance. Why didn't he kill him directly? Yun Feng didn't care much, but looked at Yun and said slowly, "There will be many opportunities in the future. We don't have to rush. Instead of letting him die so easily, it's better to deal with him properly." Hearing Yun Feng's words, Yun's beautiful eyes suddenly flashed with eagerness. Yes, it's too easy for him to die like this. So under Yun Feng's guidance, Yun's eyes were filled with that kind of sick look. Destroy them. Yun Feng looked at Yun in front of him, and for some reason he had a strong sense of déjà vu. Isn't this the same as when the kitten was fighting him? They were all like Yandir performances. Just thinking about it made Yun Feng feel a pain in his waist. But this matter was also resolved satisfactorily. Looking at Yun, Yun Feng handed her soul bone directly to Yun. In fact, he didn't save much of this thing, and gave it all to Guidoina in the past few years. Yun looked at this soul bone that exuded her own aura, and her eyes suddenly turned red. Now is a vulnerable time, and it is to save her and take her to see clearly what Tang Hao and Tang San are like. And she also knows that Yun Feng is a human soul master. Logically speaking, no one can resist the temptation of this kind of soul bone that is 100,000 years old. But Yun Feng gave it to her so easily. She didn't think about returning it. She thought about giving it away. Because her life belongs to Yun Feng, and the soul bone has long ceased to belong to her. Now that it can be given to her, she was stunned for a while and didn't take it. After seeing this scene, Yun Feng smiled. He grabbed Yun's hair with his hand and whispered in her ear, "Have you forgotten so quickly the conditions you agreed to after I saved you? Besides, it's been so long, we are an old couple, don't be like this." Yun was immediately embarrassed, remembering what she promised Yun Feng, but she didn't know it at that time. How could she think so much when she was angry? And Yun Feng was so close to Yun, which made her a little uncomfortable. She immediately took a few steps back with a slightly red face. "I am a weak woman, I hope." Before she finished speaking, she was kissed by Yun Feng. "That's it, you absorb it quickly, we are going back." After that, He set up a barbecue grill next to her. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378, The City of Killing. Ian's face was full of helplessness, but over the years, Ian was actually used to Yun Feng's behavior. Yun Feng's behavior of not treating her as an outsider really touched her. Thinking of this, Ian picked up the soul bone and sat down. Her current strength is a bit low. I have to recover a little faster. The origin soul bone is extremely tonic. A faint light flashed, and Ian's face showed a clear emotional fluctuation. A small bunch of blue-silver grass emerged from the palm of her right hand. The crystal grass leaves were very smooth and looked only a little thicker than ordinary blue-silver grass. But the sapphire-like grass leaves looked so beautiful, especially the golden texture in it. It gave people an extremely special beauty. This is not blue-silver grass, but the real blue-silver emperor. After absorbing all of this, Ian's soul beast cultivation reached 60,000 years. Originally resurrected by Baiji's life energy, the body was already filled with a lot of life energy. Once it was replenished, it naturally recovered quickly. Not to mention that the blue-silver emperor bloodline is now completely back. After waking up, Ian was also invited by Biji to sit on the ground, eating barbecue with Yun Feng and others. Now looking at Ian, Biji, and Ziji eating their barbecue happily, Yun Feng couldn't help but sigh that he didn't know how many soul beasts he had captured with this skill. Huogua can grill fish, he can grill meat. Not bad. Tang Hao's scream made everything around him tremble, until a trace of scarlet spread from the corner of his mouth. He roared to the sky, and fell straight to the ground. The meridians in his body were tangled together in many places, and his internal organs seemed to be out of place, and his meridians were abnormally disordered. The old injuries had not healed, and he went to the spirit hall to blow up a wave, and now he encountered these two soul beasts and blew up a wave together. If it were an ordinary person, he should have died long ago. This is an old injury. The old injury in Tang Hao's body is so heavy that the danger level of Tang Hao's body can be described as collapse at any time. If it's not good, he will die immediately. Tang Hao himself knows it very well. Tang San should not survive in front of those two soul beasts. Tang Hao now has only one idea, which is to return to his newborn son and hand his son over to his sister Tang Yue to take care of him. As for Kinger, he is still useful for his son's future, and Tang Hao doesn't want to touch him. Tang Hao is dying. Death is only a matter of time. It is inevitable. Unless there is some healing medicine, his injury can't be saved by the 9-heart begonia. He is struggling. He wants to go back and finish everything, but it is difficult for him to move now. He lay on the ground for a long time, spit out a mouthful of blood, and then moved with the help of the tree. The direction is exactly where they hid before. And Tang San also woke up at this time, feeling that his head seemed to be about to explode, especially the message left in his mind by the voice of anger. The hatred for Tang Hao reached its peak at this moment. It's all because of this idiot. If it weren't for him, he wouldn't have lost this reward opportunity. He wouldn't have lost his blue-silver grass martial soul. He wouldn't have lost the opportunity to advance his martial soul. Tang San wanted to cry now. His spirit power dropped to level 50. If it weren't for the clear sky hammer supporting his body, he might have dropped to level 50 or even lower. In addition, his body, which was not tall to begin with, has become even shorter and uglier now. How can he face people? Anger. Boundless anger gathered at this moment. He hated it. He hated it all. It was like this in his previous life, and it is even more so now. Why treat him like this? He obviously did nothing wrong. He was forced to jump off a cliff in his previous life. Was he wrong? Didn't he research so many long-lost hidden weapons for the sect? As for why he didn't leave them to them, it was entirely because they forced him. This life is even worse. He has never seen any family affection since he was a child. He thought he would live like this as an ordinary person. But why did he get in touch with the profession of spirit master? His father ignored him, and he had to take care of this waste all the time. He had had enough. If he hadn't figured out the rules of this world, he would have quit long ago. What the hell is this? Later, he met Yao Gang, the big liar. Not only did he use him as an experimental subject, but he almost killed him several times. He didn't say anything about these things, and he was still protecting Yao Gang, but later, Yao Gang wanted to kill him. He even completely destroyed his martial spirit. If it weren't for the attention of the gods, he might have died by now. Why is everything all happening? Tang San was crying. At this time, he instantly thought of Yun Feng, the only one who was good to him, but now he seemed to have lost him. Why did he say such words in the main hall of the spirit hall? That's not him! Exclamation mark. He might as well have died there. Just when Tang San was still immersed in his own world and sadness, a team of men in blue robes, each of them mighty and extraordinary, held a painting in their hands and compared it carefully with Tang San in front of them, and their eyes revealed a look of surprise. Although his hide is not the same now and his face is even uglier, but they can still recognize Tang San at a glance. After all, the facial bones are still there, and it seems that the bones in Duo are also good at it. Catch the man over there, he is Tang San. It's time for our Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family to rise. When Tang San heard this, he immediately realized something. Then he endured the pain, got up and started running, with the ghost shadow and various hidden weapons. For a while, the leader of the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family really couldn't catch up with Tang San. After all, under the full strength burst, with Tang San's background, he was just like a rabbit. The free spirit skills were bombarding madly from behind, but it was useless. After chasing for an hour, they also lost their spirit. I don't know why this dwarf can run so fast. If Tang San knew it, he might laugh. Just kidding, he got rid of the entire Tang sect in his previous life. If he wasn't a fool, he ran to the ghost sea's sorrow. Only those so-called elders can catch up with him? It's just like a joke. Born to escape. After half a month of eating and sleeping in the wind and rain, Tang San came to a small town, and there was a man with him. The man also looked extremely ugly. When he saw Tang San, he was also on the run. Later, he met Tang San again in the tavern and recognized each other. Then they started chatting. After knowing that the place he was going to was called the Slaughter City, Tang San also became interested. That was the only place where he could avoid being hunted. Chapter 379 Go home to find your mother. After understanding the situation, Tang San immediately decided to hide there and develop first. In the past half-month, the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family was hunting him down, and the news was leaked, causing all the forces on the continent to know about it. Tang San didn't sleep well for a single day. He was always running away like crazy. He even went into that filthy place more than once to avoid being tracked down. He never had time to recover from his injuries. New injuries were added to the old ones. It was so miserable. So Tang San decided to go to the Killing City to hide. After several turns, Tang San and the men next to him finally came to a small town. This town didn't look big, but as soon as he stepped in, Tang San felt that the atmosphere around him was a little strange. He couldn't tell why, but he always felt that there was a special chill in the people around him. The man took Tang San to a tavern in the town and walked in. The air in the tavern was very turbid. Tang San noticed all the decorations here were black. Although it was daytime outside, as soon as he walked in, he felt a cold and dark feeling. At this time, about 30% of the tavern was occupied. Although the air was turbid, few people spoke, so it seemed very quiet. The arrival of the man and Tang San attracted a lot of attention, but most of them just glanced at them and passed by. The man found a place in the corner and sat down with Tang San. A waiter dressed in black and with an indifferent face came over. "What do you want to order?" The man said coldly, "Give me 2 glasses of Bloody Mary." The waiter's face changed slightly. "Are you sure?" After being swept by Tang San's cold eyes, he dared not say anything. He turned his head away. After a while, 2 glasses of turbid liquid were brought up. The liquid was dark red and exuded a strong fishy smell, as pungent as blood. Tang San frowned, but the man picked up a glass and drank it all. He raised his head and looked at Tang San. "Drink it." Tang San hesitated for a moment and slowly picked up the wine glass. "What is this?" The man glanced at him and repeated, "Drink it." Tang San took a deep breath, closed his eyes suddenly, and poured the liquid in the cup into his stomach in one gulp. The liquid was a little salty and a little sour. The strong smell of blood instantly filled Tang San's taste and smell. The man looked at him and said calmly, "This is a cup of human blood." "What?" Tang San's face turned pale instantly, and the next moment, he couldn't help but turn his head to the side and vomited violently. The violent vomiting broke the calm in the tavern and attracted the attention of all the guests. Laughter rang out. "Where did this chick come from? Go home. This is not the place you should come to. You can't even afford a glass of Bloody Mary, and you still want to get the qualification to go in? Ha ha. Go home and find your mother to feed you." All kinds of dirty voices filled the tavern. Those drinkers seemed to have found a point of venting in their repression and hit Tang San without reservation. Even after vomiting everything in his stomach, he still couldn't completely wipe out the bloody smell. Tang San almost vomited bile. When he reluctantly raised his head to look at the man raised his hand and pointed at those who were laughing at him. "Kill them." The laughter stopped abruptly, and everyone looked at the man with strange eyes. The man's voice came from behind. "To be kind to the enemy is to be cruel to yourself. No one who can come here has no way to die, including you and me. Kill them all, and leave no one alive." Isn't this a well-known truth? Before Tang San could make a move, the big man closest to him had already jumped up. "I'll kill you first." A bull-ear sharp knife stabbed out from a tricky angle, aiming directly at Tang San's heart. This man was obviously very experienced, and the position of the knife was just enough to drill into the gap between Tang San's ribs. Killing spirit. Is this man cultivating his own killing spirit? Tang San moved. He was not a kind person to begin with. To be kind to the enemy is to be cruel to himself. His left hand reached out like lightning, and with a clang, he had already grasped the sharp knife that was stabbing at him. The big man who had drawn the knife felt that his knife seemed to have pierced into a hard rock. Unable to move forward or retreat, Tang San took a step forward with his right foot. His eyes had turned cold, and the bloody taste was still overflowing in his mouth. A cold chill was released from his pupils. Bang! Tang San's shoulder hit the big man's chest. A layer of white light suddenly emerged from Tang San's body. It was not used for attack, but to block the blood gushing out of the big man's mouth. The tall and strong man was directly knocked away, and his chest completely collapsed. The sound of bones breaking was clearly heard in every corner of the tavern. Tang San moved. His movements were simple and powerful. At this time, he had seen clearly that in addition to himself, the strange man and the waiter, there were 23 guests in the tavern. If one was killed by him, there were still 22 guests. Among the 22 people, 5 of them were releasing their spirit power quickly, and the remaining 17 drew their weapons without hesitation. No one escaped. This is a test given to us by the City of Slaughter. "Kill him and we can enter the City of Slaughter," someone shouted, and everyone's eyes turned red. They rushed towards Tang San like crazy. Among the 22 people, only 5 were spirit masters, and the most powerful one only had 4 spirit rings. The black aura fluctuated and rose up, and along with the clear sky hammer that appeared in an instant, 5 spirit rings quietly appeared on Tang San's body. Black, 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 black. The 5 terrifying spirit rings appeared silently. Feng was watching everything from above at this time. He was not stupid. When he saw Tang San, he directly placed the sword seal on Tang San's body. He was always paying attention to Tang San's movements, but he didn't expect that after all the twists and turns, Tang San could actually come to the City of Slaughter. Plop, plop, plop. One body after another fell to the ground, and the blood stained the floor of the tavern red. At this time, Tang San's face was very calm. The man was surprised by his calmness. The man looked at Tang San's crazy killing, and his eyes also revealed a hint of madness. "Kill him, and I can go in." But the moment Tang San turned his head, the man restored his previous expression. Pretending to be mysterious, he said, "You did a good job, and your strength is far beyond my imagination." Before the man finished speaking, a short blade suddenly appeared in Tang San's hand and pierced the man's chest directly. In the man's puzzled eyes, Tang San sneered, "Except Feng, I don't believe anyone. Besides, you want me to kill you." After saying that, Tang San pulled out the short blade and wiped the blood on the man's body. The waiter in the tavern did not panic because of the death of dozens of people. He was as calm as Tang San, as if he had already seen this scene. You want to enter the slaughter city by killing a few people? He is not qualified, the waiter said coldly. He can't even afford a glass of Bloody Mary, so why should he enter? Chapter 380 I'm still at Death Knight. Swoosh. A sharp short blade emerged from his chest. Tang San did not turn around to look, but just said lightly, "Am I qualified now?" The waiter obviously could not give him any more answers. He never thought that Tang San would actually attack him, and his pupils gradually expanded. His body had been thrown out, blood spurted, and gathered with the previous bodies. Yun Feng looked at the now decisive Tang San and smiled. It seems that no matter who experiences this kind of fusion, their personality will change drastically, don't you think? Yun beside him had anger in his eyes, and he wanted to go down and kill Tang San, but after remembering that he said that he wanted Tang San to die in despair, he also forced himself to suppress his killing intent, slowly nodded and looked at Yun Feng and said, "You are right. For example, I have changed a lot." Tang San looked at his hands and smiled. He came to this world full of killing, and the only choice he had was to kill, otherwise, he would be killed. The vomiting process was the only cowardly process he allowed himself. He would not allow himself to have it again. Thinking of himself, Tang San stood up and strode to the bar of the tavern. He did not even look at the other two waiters who were already stunned behind the bar. He raised his hand and slapped the bar heavily. With a loud bang, the bar was broken into pieces and flew everywhere, revealing the ground. The two waiters were already dumbfounded, and the black hammer in Tang San's left hand had appeared at some point. The entrance to the city of slaughter should be here. He twisted his body, exerted force with his calves, and the black hammer turned into a black light and hit the ground heavily. Long before, Tang San's mental power had already detected the difference here. It was empty under the bar. Without a doubt, this town could not be the city of slaughter. The entrance was the most reasonable explanation. He would not look for any mechanism. Different methods should be used in different places. With a loud bang, a huge hole appeared in the ground, and a cold wind blew up from under the hole. Tang San turned his head and looked up at the sky. He always felt that someone was watching him, but when he looked back, he didn't see anything. Tang San thought that he was just worrying too much. After all, he was being hunted for so long, and it was normal for him to be a little sensitive. Thinking of this, Tang San didn't hesitate and jumped down. He jumped directly into the darkness on the ground. His body was instantly surrounded by darkness, and the whole person was immersed in it. At this time, Yun Feng, who was observing Tang San, was a little surprised. Tang San actually gained so much during this period of time. It's a bit incredible. He could find himself and others. Yun didn't care about this matter too much. It was just a pity that he didn't kill Tang San or mess with him. Entering the darkness, just falling a few meters, Tang San was already on the ground, without the need for light. His purple magic pupil could see everything clearly in the darkness. This is a long corridor, extending diagonally downward, and the cold breath kept blowing Tang San's body. But he still strode forward. When Tang San walked forward 1,462 steps, a cold voice suddenly came from all directions. "Welcome to the city of slaughter. This is the capital of hell, a world full of slaughter. Here, you can get everything you want. The price is your life." The mental power was released, but Tang San immediately felt that the material of this tunnel was very special, and even his mental power could not penetrate it. His face changed slightly, and Tang San's expression froze a little, but his steps did not stop. Turning a corner, there was a faint light in front. Tang San narrowed his eyes slightly, and the power of the purple magic pupil was focused. The light in front suddenly magnified in his eyes. It was an open door. On the other side of the door, there was a breath of life. Striding forward, Tang San vaguely heard a noisy sound. When he walked out of the tunnel, in front of him, 101 people appeared, all dressed in black armor. Even their faces were completely covered by helmets, and 100 of them held heavy swords. There was only one person sitting on a tall war horse, and his horse was also covered with thick black armor. "You broke the rules." The deep voice sounded extremely cold, as if it didn't come from a human mouth. The one who spoke was the black-armored knight sitting on his horse. Tang San didn't look at him, but his eyes were cast behind him. What he saw was a black city. The thick black city wall was very wide. It was actually a city, and above the city, there was a purple moon hanging. The moon was very low, and it seemed that it was less than 500 meters away from the ground. Looking up, everything was black, just like the existence of the night. "What if you broke the rules?" Tang San asked after a sneer. The black-armored knight's voice was still cold, without the slightest human breath. "Then you must accept the punishment. Defeat me, and you will have the qualification to enter the slaughter city." "Isn't it to kill you?" Tang San asked lightly. Obviously he already knew the rules of the slaughter city very well. The black-armored knight slowly raised the slender knight's gun in his hand, and the black-armored warriors on both sides of Tang San slowly retreated, leaving an open space. "I am the Terror Knight Scott. I am also the Death Knight." The warhorse suddenly accelerated, and the black-armored knight rushed straight towards Tang San with a tragic breath. The cold breath was filled, and a stern murderous aura rushed towards him head-on. Compared with the two masked men who helped his mother before, the murderous aura emanating from this black-armored knight was much smaller, but it was more sharp. Tang San just wanted to summon the blue-silver grass, but he didn't summon it. At this time, he suddenly remembered that his martial spirit seemed to be gone. It was taken back by his mother, and he summoned his clear sky hammer in a trance. Just when he wanted to use his soul skills, the big guy in front of him, but found that his soul skills seemed to be unable to be used. This time Tang San also understood why the man before did not tell him all the information about the slaughter city. Thinking of this, Tang San wanted to pull him out again and whip his corpse again. Too hateful, dare to use him. In fact, the man's death was also very unjust. Originally, seeing Tang San's strength, he wanted Tang San to help him clear the obstacles, but he didn't expect Tang San's strength to be so strong. After killing so many people, he could still guard against himself, the person who brought him here. There is no one else. However, after a brief shock, Tang San recovered. The soul skills disappeared, but the soul power was still there. That is, the Xuan Gong was still there. Turning around, Tang San's clear sky hammer had already blasted out, the Chaos Cloak Hammer technique. The first hammer, he was greeted by the heavy armored horror knight with the huge momentum of the warhorse. The sound of metal colliding with each other immediately created a sound in the air. It was extremely harsh. The warhorse screamed, and the huge momentum stopped abruptly. A 4-meter-long heavy knight's spear broke through the air and flew far away. The horror knight Scott was no longer on the horse, and like his knight's spear, the whole person had been blown away. Chapter 381 The Imperial Prince Consort. The warhorse, however, stopped on Tang San's right hand. The huge momentum stopped there. Under the powerful force, the warhorse fell sideways and twitched violently. Its neck had been completely broken in the collision of the two great forces. Tang Hao was the only one who knew the explosive power that the 500 Jin clear sky hammer could produce under Tang San's accumulated attack. After 2 years of hammering under the waterfall, Tang San's body had long been a weapon. Although the momentum was huge, it could not affect him at all. The Terror Knight Scott slowly climbed up from the ground. The armor on his right hand that had previously held the knight's gun had all shattered and scattered, even the armor on his entire right arm. At the same time, the muscles and bones of his right arm also shattered. Tang San frowned. According to his original calculations of the opponent, this hammer should be able to kill the opponent, but the power of this Terror Knight was stronger than he had judged, so he was saved. Walking forward step by step, Tang San looked up at the purple moon, thinking in his heart, "I'm here in this slaughter city where you can't use spirit skills." Feng, who was standing outside the town, had already left. Yan also left. Feng was not worried that Tang San could obtain the inheritance of the Shuri god. Moreover, he had the sword seal. He just tried it. He could use the 5th spirit skill directly to enter the place while shielding all his aura. There was no risk. At that time, he just had to make trouble when Tang San obtained the inheritance. Another thing was to make Tang San fail to complete the test of the slaughter city. He was very experienced in this matter. Didn't you see Shrek was tricked into that state by him? Yu Gang was directly tricked to death. Ma Hongjun cut off the mortal world. Oscar and Dimabai formed a CP, and Zhao Santa Claus. Flanders completely lost his beloved. Yu Tan died. Tai Long and others died. Unknowingly, Yun Feng didn't know how many people he had tricked. Now Tang San was directly brainwashed by Yun Feng. What else can I say? After retracting his gaze, Yun Feng teleported directly back to Lanba Academy. As for Ah Yin, at her request, Yun Feng sent her to the valley to discuss some things with the Blue Silver King. When Yun Feng just returned to Lanba Academy, the girls immediately surrounded him. The most clingy one is Zook. This little girl feels very uncomfortable when she can't see Yun Feng for a moment. After 2 years of getting along, she has already fallen in love with Yun Feng. Not shy at all, Yun Feng smiled when he saw this, touched Zook's head, looked into her eyes and asked casually, "Zook, how is your father's physical condition now?" Zook's expression dimmed after hearing Yun Feng's question. Shaking her head, she said slowly, "His physical condition is not very good. Now it is Brother King who is helping to deal with state affairs." After thinking for a while, Yun Feng continued, "What about Prince Avalanche?" Zook didn't react after hearing Yun Feng's question. He said indignantly, "It's still the same, but now he seems to be sick. I told him not to play around, but he mocked me. This person is really hopeless. My father has completely lost confidence in him." Yun Feng smiled in his heart when he heard this. How could he not know about this? This matter was revealed by Yun Feng accidentally, revealed to Qian Renxu. Qian Renxu is not a fool. She always thought that Zhu Beng was a waste, so she naturally didn't care much. Moreover, he had just confirmed the position of the crown prince at that time. If too many royal children died, it would be inevitable that someone would suspect him, so Zhu Beng was saved to cover up. But after hearing Yun Feng talk about this, he immediately realized that something was wrong. What does it mean that a waste doesn't want to play and frequently contacts Yun Feng and the people around him? Everyone knows that Yun Feng is now the most valued foreign minister in the empire by Emperor Zhu Yi, and he is so talented. Getting the support of Yun Feng is equivalent to getting the support of Yun Feng's girlfriends. Yun Feng has so many girlfriends around him. Not only are there 2 titled Buo, but one is also the daughter of Ning Fengzi, the leader of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect. So Yun Feng is the hottest and most popular girl. Qian Renxu was worried that Yun Feng would not be able to resist the temptation, so she came to Yun Feng many times to talk and talk. Although she knew that Yun Feng was from the Spirit Hall, she was also afraid that Yun Feng would be a double agent. However, Qian Renxu's guess was right. But he was not a double agent. Nor was he helping Zhu Beng or something like that. He wanted to be the emperor himself. Otherwise, he would not have stayed here for several years with all his heart and soul. It was not to gain the favor of Emperor Zhu Yi and to lower Qian Renxu's vigilance. In fact, Yun Feng could also see that Qian Renxu did not want to be the emperor, but just to prove herself. Yun Feng had been waiting for Qian Renxu to take the initiative to confront him about this matter, saying that she was a girl. But Qian Renxu never said anything, and Yun Feng did not want to deceive her, but she did not take the initiative to speak. So what could he do? What if Qian Renxu didn't oppose Yun Feng's plan as he thought? Then what should Yun Feng do? So he kept dragging it on. As for Zhu Beng, it was Yun Feng who wanted to use Qian Renxu's hand to solve this disaster. This kid is too patient. This level of patience made Yun Feng admire it. But Zhu Beng was completely helpless. The deaths of his brothers had already made him panic. Later, when Prince Zhu Xing came up, he nodded and agreed to this plan. And now Tang San has long been regarded as fat meat by various forces. Everyone wants to take a bite, and he can't take care of himself. How could he come to the Tandu Empire to help Zhu Beng? And according to the plot of the original work, even if Tang San returns, it will be after the Slaughter City. And now because of Yun Feng's appearance, the original plot has been disrupted. It also made Qian Renxu want to kill Zhu Beng. In order to succeed to the throne and get that person's approval quickly, Qian Renxu also began to speed up the process. Now Yun Feng feels that the only person he is sorry for is Zook. If she knew that her brother and her lover were both deceiving her, with her simple character, Who knows what would happen? So all Yun Feng could do was to try his best to save Emperor Zuyi's life after plotting for the country. As for now, not yet. How could he succeed to the throne if nothing happened to Emperor Zuyi? Now he is recognized as the imperial consort. He is also the first genius of the empire. In fact, there is still a lot of room for maneuver. As long as Qian Renxu gets into trouble again, he can save her when the empire is in danger. Chapter 382. It's time for the Tandu Empire to reform. At least the ministers of the empire all recognize Yun Feng as a person. In recent years, their favorable impression of Yun Feng has been increasing. Yun Feng sometimes wonders if he can raise his arms and call for help now, and those people will support him to be the emperor, because this favorable impression is too high. But it is not possible now. There is no reason. Otherwise, even if he gets this country, he will purge the court like in the ancient times. Although Yun Feng is not afraid, it is bound to cause a big war, which is completely avoidable. If it can be avoided, don't let it happen. Yun Feng can still understand this situation. Learn from history. Yun Feng has heard this sentence more than 100 times. Zook looked at the dazed Yun Feng and shook her small palm on Yun Feng's face. Brother, are you okay? Why are you in a daze all the time? Yun Feng was brought back to his senses from his contemplation by Zook's words. Seeing Zook's anxious look, Yun Feng didn't know what to say, so he could only say slowly, "Care, I'm fine. Don't worry, I just thought of something. Let's go to the palace to see your father tomorrow." After a pause, Yun Feng continued, "This is what I have to do as a minister." Zook, who heard this, also showed a bit of happiness in her eyes. After all, it's a bit shy to bring her boyfriend to see her father. As for why Yun Feng wanted to go tomorrow, of course, he saw the eyes of the girls. Every time Yun Feng went out without them, they suspected that Yun Feng would bring other sisters outside, and now the dean can't accommodate them. There are too many people. Huo Wu and the group of girls from Tanshui College also came to Yun Feng from time to time to ask for advice, and then stayed that night. Because there were too many people, Yun Feng finally demolished all the walls and made all the houses interconnected, which solved the problem. I don't know about other things, but at noon the next day, Yun Feng leaned against the wall and went out. Zook was distressed to see Yun Feng like this, and said directly to Zhao Wu and the other girls, "Can't you be considerate of your brother? Look at what he has become." But Zook's words made the girls roll their eyes. Then she said angrily, "I don't know who keeps saying it." As a princess, Zook had no dignity in front of them. She blushed immediately and took Yun Feng's hand and ran towards the palace. Yun Feng naturally told the girls about this matter. So when Zook took Yun Feng away, the girls didn't react and did their own things, practicing, cleaning, cooking, drinking tea, reading, meditating, sleeping. Anyway, there were all kinds of things. Yun Feng, who was being dragged away by Zook, looked at the scene and said with a smile, "Care, we are far away now. There is no need to run any further." Zook stopped when she heard what Yun Feng said, pouted her lips, looked at Yun Feng fiercely and said, "Tell me quickly, I am not what my sister said. I did not do that." Looking at Zook like this, Yun Feng's mind suddenly emerged a little picture. After finally smiling, he touched Zook's head and said, "Okay, I know, Care is not that kind of person. Care is the best." After hearing what Yun Feng said, his mood immediately improved. He took Yun Feng's hand and began to swing. After reading something casually on the side of the road, he soon arrived at the palace. Now it is not Emperor Zuyi who is attending the court. It is Zhu King, the prince who is the regent. Emperor Zuyi also plans to hand over the empire to Zhu King. It is just to test his ability more, so he is holding on. Some important decision-making matters still need to be reviewed by himself. Although Emperor Zuyi is not a wise ruler, he is not a tyrant either. It's just that his ability is limited, coupled with the existence of Qian Renxu and the plan of the Spirit Hall. That's why he is powerless. After arriving at the place where Emperor Zuyi was recuperating, Yun Feng also saw Emperor Zuyi, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Now he was covered with bedding and dressed in plain clothes. There was also a healing spirit master beside him to help him with treatment. Although it didn't do much good, at least it made him feel much better. His hair was all gray, his face was black, and his lips were even more so. Lian Yunfeng sighed after seeing it. There is no right or wrong in the world, everyone is working hard for their own goals. So Yunfeng didn't regret it or anything, he just felt a little touched when he saw this scene. In fact, with Qian Renxu's personality, her love for Zook is also true, especially this little girl, who is so adoring of this big brother. People are not saints, everyone has feelings, so for Zook, Qian Renxu will compensate if she can. That's all she can do. Perhaps if she had not been discovered, Zook would have been the happiest princess in the world. But things did not go as planned. Tang San still saw through it. Now to do it again, Yunfeng naturally wanted to solve this matter in a more perfect way. Perhaps it was the blood in his bones that was playing tricks. It was not a saint, but Yunfeng just wanted to do what he wanted to do. After seeing Yunfeng coming, Emperor Zuyi's black face also showed a smile. The wrinkles were squeezed together. Come, give me a seat. Let me have a good talk with my daughter and son-in-law. Emperor Zuyi was already a little overwhelmed while speaking. The eunuch standing on the side quickly brought 2 stools and placed them directly in front of Yunfeng and Zook. The two did not hesitate at all, and sat down beside Emperor Zuyi's bed. Your Majesty, When Emperor Zuyi saw Yunfeng open his mouth, he knew what he wanted to say and waved his hand directly. You are a genius. It is normal for you to have some things. Our Tandu Empire will have to rely on you more in the future, so it doesn't matter if you don't have time to come to see me or not. Yunfeng was silent for a while after hearing this, and then smiled at Emperor Zuyi. As a son-in-law, I have to come to visit my father-in-law. Yunfeng's words made Emperor Zuyi very happy, and Zook's cheeks flushed. After all, Yunfeng's active recognition means that he recognizes the Tandu Empire, right? In addition to the strong people around Yunfeng, it is no exaggeration to say that with Yunfeng's existence, the Tandu Empire can be preserved for 200 years. Yunfeng and Zook chatted for a long time in Emperor Zuyi's bedroom. From family matters to the country, Zuyi was chatting with Yunfeng and Zook, without any reservation. He could feel that his life was coming to an end. So I want to talk more while I can still talk. It has been 2 years since the disease was discovered, but there is no way to solve it. He has seen through it a long time ago. Now he no longer looks like an emperor, but only like a father, especially when he looks at Zook. Perhaps this old man only behaves like this in front of his daughter. After saying goodbye to Emperor Zuyi, Yunfeng and Zook went to see Qian Renxu again. Qian Renxu had just finished dealing with things when she heard the report. After knowing that it was Yunfeng and Zook, she also ordered her subordinates to entertain them. In fact, Qian Renxu was not having a good time either. Even if Emperor Zuyi was stupid, he could know that his eldest son was the source of all this, because Zhu Beng had the same disease as him, but he didn't have as high a cultivation as Emperor Zuyi, and the onset was a little faster. But Emperor Zuyi didn't say anything. It's time for the Tandu Empire to reform. There are many nobles, and the neighboring Xingluo Empire is centralized, while the Tandu Empire is still implementing the feudal system. Not only is the power of the empire dispersed, but corruption is also particularly serious. How could he not worry about this? So even if he guessed that it was Zhu King who did it, he didn't react in any other way. That's good. Zhu King is ruthless enough. Maybe he can really take the Tandu Empire further, even if it costs his own life and the life of his youngest son. He will not hesitate. He doesn't want the Tandu Empire to collapse after his death. Otherwise, he will not be able to face his ancestors after he goes down. Of course, Emperor Zuyi has never told anyone about these things. He is holding it in his heart. Even if some ministers have seen something, they dare not speak out. Everyone knows that Zhu King is the next emperor of the Tandu Empire. No one will make a stupid move under such circumstances. What they have to do is to protect their family's foundation. As for the empire, whoever becomes the emperor doesn't matter, as long as it doesn't harm their interests. They are very open-minded. Yunfeng and Zook left after staying with Qian Renxu for a while. Qian Renxu looked at the backs of Yunfeng and Zook leaving, and 2 figures suddenly appeared beside her. Young master, are you still not going to confront Yunfeng? He has been making a lot of moves recently. The ministers like him very much. Aren't you afraid that he will affect your plan? Qian Renxu's eyes flashed with a trace of confusion. In fact, after 2 years of getting along, Qian Renxu also has Yun Feng in her heart. It's not Qian Renxu's fault for giving anything, but the affinity aura on Yun Feng is too abnormal. Even if Yun Feng did something very excessive, under the influence of the aura of forgiveness, the indignation soon disappeared. That's why it has been delayed until now, because she doesn't know how to face Yun Feng, especially when she looks at the women around Yun Feng. She feels depressed. In the end, it turned into a sigh, and rubbed her eyes a little tiredly. Wait and see. The dark city gate gives people an extremely depressing feeling. On the huge city gate, the 4 big words "City of Killing" are hung high. In front of the gate, 2 rows of black armored warriors stood there quietly. Before Tang San showed his ID card, a woman with a black veil on her face had already walked out. "Welcome to the City of Slaughter." The woman's voice was very pleasant. She stepped aside in front of Tang San and made a gesture of invitation. Although this underground city surprised Tang San very much, especially the restrictions on spirit skills, he took the opportunity to make the best of it. Following the woman into the city gate, perhaps because of the ID card in his hand, no one stopped him. Walking into the city, Tang San saw a blue-purple world. The lights hanging on both sides of the street only released these 2 kinds of light. What surprised him was that there were quite a few people here, and no one paid attention to him as an outsider, except that everything seemed so dark. At first glance, it seemed no different from an ordinary city. "I am your guide. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Within 12 hours, I will answer all your questions. After 12 hours, this is where you will live, and you will officially become a member of the Slaughter City." Seeing the girl said so, Tang San nodded and said, "Slaughter City, what kind of place is it?" The black veil girl said, "A paradise of the fallen." Tang San frowned. "Is it that simple?" The black veil girl nodded in response. Tang San said, "Then how did the Slaughter City come into being?" The answer given by the black veil girl this time was more satisfactory to Tang San. "The Slaughter City has been formed for thousands of years. According to legend, it is a domain left behind by a powerful spirit master who broke through the 100th level. Here, all spirit master skills cannot be used. People can only survive by instinct and their own strength. Spirit power can be used as a source of strength." Tang San looked at the black veil girl. "Then what are the rules here?" The black-veiled girl said calmly, "The rule here is that there are no rules. As a member of the Slaughter City, you can do anything here. Even if a titled Buo from the outside world comes here, he will become weaker because of the disappearance of his soul skills. Under the rule of the King of Slaughter, we don't need to be afraid of them at all. In the Slaughter City, as long as you have enough ability, you can do anything you want. But I must remind you that because there are no rules here, you may face fatal danger at any time. In a sense, this is a paradise of sin." "Paradise of sin?" "Yes, because many people come here because they can't survive in the outside world and have to choose to enter. After coming here, they don't need to worry about being hunted down. Every member of the Slaughter City will be protected by the Slaughter City." Hearing the black-veiled girl say this, Tang San was relieved. He came here to avoid being hunted down and wanted orders. Otherwise, how comfortable it would be to stay outside. But soon Tang San had another idea. "Since I can come here, and I have something that can change the world in my hand, will no one else chase me here?" This is worth considering. Without soul skills, there is still soul power. The titled Buo is still the strongest among the strong here. Are the evildoers here really safe? Mr. 9528, I know what you are thinking, the black-veiled girl suddenly said. Tang San was stunned. "Do you know what I am thinking? You must be thinking about how the Slaughter City protects its people, right?" Chapter 383 Is there no way out? Tang San's heart moved. "How do you know?" the black-veiled girl said. "Because everyone who has just arrived at the Slaughter City will have such an idea, but soon, they will give up this idea. Entering the Slaughter City requires going through tests and the test of killing. Although you entered by a special method, the overall murderous aura in you is enough, and you defeated the Lord of Terror Knight. That's why you were allowed to join. However, there is one thing I must remind you of. It's easy to enter the Slaughter City, but it's almost impossible to get out. You can only enter, But not leave? Tang San looked at the black-veiled girl in surprise. He didn't think he couldn't get out. He just came here to temporarily avoid being hunted down, but he didn't want to stay here forever. The black-veiled girl nodded and said, "There is a special law enforcement team in the Slaughter City. The terrifying night Scotch you saw is just a member of the law enforcement team. The great king of slaughter controls everything here. The real strong men in the law enforcement team are Soul Buo, who are given the ability to use soul skills by the king of slaughter. The captain is a titled Buo. Many people have tried to break out, but the results are no exception." Tang San was shocked. If a titled Buo can still be powerful without using soul skills, then a titled Buo who can't use soul skills is almost certain to be unable to defeat a Soul Buo who can use soul skills. And according to what the black-veiled girl said, the captain of the Slaughter City law enforcement team is actually a titled Buo who can use soul skills. No wonder she said that you can only enter but not leave. But Tang San was unwilling to accept it. He had just obtained the inheritance of the god's residence not long ago, and now he has completed the third test. What if he can't go out? What if the task of the god's test needs to be completed outside? Is there no way out? Tang San was already a little anxious when he said this. This is not a trivial matter, becoming a god. Who among the spirit masters doesn't want to become a god? But is it really that easy to become a god? Now that Tang San has got the chance, he naturally doesn't want to let it go. Even if the other party has always treated him as a joke, he doesn't want to give up. The black-veiled girl looked at Tang San's anxious look calmly and said, "That's not the case. There is only one way to leave the Slaughter City. That is to win the championship of the Hell Slaughter Field, and then rush out of the Hell Road after having the qualification to challenge the Hell Road. And then you can leave the Slaughter City. Any such strong person will be given the title of Slaughter God." The Slaughter City has a history of thousands of years, and a total of 8 slaughter gods have appeared before and after. 8 in 1,000 years, what an unbalanced number. What about failure in the challenge? Tang San asked. The black-veiled girl smiled and said, "In the Slaughter City, there is no failure, only success and death. And everything is like this." Tang San thought carefully. It seems that this is not an impossible thing to accomplish. Although there are restrictions on spirit skills here, there are no restrictions on hidden weapons. They don't even know what hidden weapons are. As long as they can use hidden weapons, killing these people here is just like playing, isn't it? Thinking of this, Tang San suddenly felt relieved. The black-veiled girl said, "In the Killing City, there is no currency, and any food is provided free of charge. Of course, it is not ruled out that it is poisonous. Here, the dead are the most valuable. Everyone will use the number of skulls they have as a symbol of strength, and the blood and skulls of the opponents they killed with their own hands can be used to exchange for other items." Tang San's eyes flashed with cold light. It seems that here, anyone has a way to die. So when you are sure you want to enter the Hell Killing Field, I can take you there. When Tang San heard this, he shook his head. Now his strength has dropped sharply, and he has serious injuries on his body. Naturally, he needs to rest for a while. He doesn't want to go up and give his head. Didn't he see that the black-veiled girl has already said it? There is only failure and success in the Hell Killing Field over there, and there is no other result. In short, it's either you or me. In this situation, there is nothing wrong with being careful. The black-veiled girl didn't have any other reaction. After hearing Tang San's answer, she took Tang San to his residence. However, when they were heading to their residence, a figure suddenly stood up on the side of the road. Tang San didn't even notice him in the dark corner where he was before. "Hey, there's a new person here. It seems that there will be a new Bloody Mary. Haha." Looking at this person, Tang San couldn't help but frown. The person who spoke couldn't tell his age because his figure was too special. There didn't seem to be any flesh on his body. If it weren't for the layer of skin wrapped around him, it would be easy for people to mistake him for a skeleton. Moreover, Tang San could clearly feel through simple observation that this person was not like this because of practicing some special skills. He was weak in both chi and blood and could die at any time. Can someone like him go through the battle of the Hell Killing Field once a year? Tang San asked the black-veiled girl. The skeleton-like person then saw the black-veiled girl on the other side of Tang San. As if he had encountered something terrifying, he didn't dare to say anything more and quickly disappeared into the darkness again. Of course not everyone needs to go through the hell-killing ground. After all, the death rate there is too high. In addition to going through a battle in the hell-killing ground every year, there is another way to survive in the killing city, that is, to contribute 2 cups of Bloody Mary every month. And do you know how to make Bloody Mary? The man who brought him here before Tang San came mentioned it. That is human blood. From this point of view, the man just now must have contributed an unknown amount of blood to become like this. I'm afraid he can't hold on for much longer. If you contribute too many Bloody Marys, won't you be at the mercy of others? Tang San frowned. The black-veiled girl said, "No, you are now in the outer city of the Slaughter City, not the real Slaughter City. Only the inner city is a place without rules. Those who survived by contributing to Bloody Mary can only move around in the outer city, and the outer city does not allow random killing. Only those warriors who survived in the Hell Slaughter field are qualified to live in the inner city. Of course, the enjoyment there is greater than outside, but they will also face the test of death at any time." Hearing this, Tang San also had some doubts in his heart, so he asked directly, "What about the food source of the Slaughter City? In a place like this, I'm afraid it can't be planted, and no one will plant it." As Tang San spoke, his eyes always fell on the black-veiled girl. His purple demon eye is not a soul skill, so it will naturally not be restricted. In this short period of time, he simply tested it. Chapter 384 Is it safe to be with you? After hearing Tang San's words, the black-veiled girl also felt a little dissatisfied in her heart, but for the sake of the task assigned to her, she still forced herself to explain to Tang San, "I'm sorry, I don't know this and can't answer you." Tang San said lightly, "Does the spirit hall know the existence of this place? If they know, why don't they, who always claim to be righteous, come to destroy you?" His question was not polite, but it had a strong meaning. Although the Slaughter City is an isolated underground world, since the man was able to know that there were so many people in the tavern outside when he arrived, it means that there are people outside who know about this place. The black-veiled girl sneered. "So what if they know? The spirit hall will not take any action against us. Let's not talk about whether they can gain benefits in this world. Destroying the Slaughter City will not benefit them at all." Mr. 9528. Don't forget that it is almost impossible for people who enter the Slaughter City to get out again, and those who can come here are all human beings full of depravity and sin. This place has nothing to do with the outside world. The Slaughter City is like a special prison, helping the Spirit Hall to guard the most heinous criminals. You say, why does the Spirit Hall want to destroy this place? They probably wish more evil people would come here. Tang San understood that the Spirit Hall was going to turn this Slaughter City into a large prison, so that those evil people who were being hunted or had nowhere to go would go here. Let the law and order on the mainland be improved. But Tang San was hunted by the Spirit Hall because of all this caused by the Spirit Hall. Naturally, it was impossible for the Spirit Hall to live so comfortably. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he thought of a plan in his heart. That is to destroy the Slaughter City, release all the criminals, and make the Spirit Hall burn out. Thinking of this, Tang San showed a cold smile on his face. It was indeed the same as his own judgment. The existence of this Slaughter City was built on the connivance of the Spirit Hall. No matter what, even if spirit skills cannot be used here, its strength cannot be compared with the Spirit Hall covering the entire continent. Walking on the road, the number of people on both sides gradually increased. Almost everyone's face showed an unhealthy paleness, and more were skinny. Needless to say, these are people who dare not enter the hell-killing field and survive by contributing 2 glasses of Bloody Mary every month. Tang San still remembers the glass of Bloody Mary he drank. He clearly remembers that glass of Bloody Mary was at least close to half a caddy. 2 glasses a month is a caddy of blood. 1 or 2 months may not be a big deal, but if it continues like this in a place without sunlight, how can the body bear it? Tang San thought to himself, perhaps this Slaughter City itself is secretly supported by the Spirit Hall. Otherwise, where does the food for such a city come from? Where do all the items come from? In the outer city of the Slaughter City, There are some simple black stone houses on both sides of the street, and there are some special places to eat every few miles. Many people lined up there waiting for food to be distributed. It feels like they are just a little better than beggars. As for the so-called paradise of sin and the so-called enjoyment, they simply do not exist. In this regard, the black-veiled girl gave a very simple explanation. The evil people are also divided into different levels. Only the truly powerful evil people can enjoy in this paradise of depravity. As for the useless waste, they have no right to enjoy these. The black-veiled girl left directly after sending Tang San to the place, because a new instruction came down in her mind, and she didn't want to continue to follow this ugly man. In fact, the girl's thoughts were also very simple. Most of the spirit masters outside have enjoyed the favor of the spirit hall. Among them, there are also some who have offended the spirit hall, but none of them are as ordinary as Tang San. It's really disgusting. A small town above the killing city. A beautiful figure looked at the dark cave entrance and murmured, "I hope you are safe on this trip." After saying that, he took a deep look at the cave entrance and left directly. It was Bibi Dong who came here. After she sent Huliina here, she gave a few instructions and said that she would come to pick her up when she came out. Huliina naturally nodded and agreed. She didn't want to fall behind others, even if Bibi Dong didn't blame her, but she was very uncomfortable in her heart. Because of them, her teacher was ridiculed by the worship hall again. As a student, she naturally couldn't stand it, so she wanted to become stronger, and there are only a few ways for soul masters to become stronger. One is to meditate to exercise soul power and absorb soul power, but by absorbing soul rings and soul bones. But this method is not always possible. There are too many restrictions. That is to say, she is deeply loved by her teacher, so she can get a soul bone after losing the game. And it is still the main illusion. You can imagine how difficult it is. She didn't want to disappoint Bibi Dong, so she made up her mind one night, go to the killing city. Even if she died, she would have no regrets, just to see that person's back. She didn't want to be so powerless anymore. Bibi Dong naturally knew her apprentice's character, so after learning about Huliina's idea, she was silent for a long time, but still agreed. Huliina, who entered the killing city, also went through the process that Tang San had gone through, and saw the black-veiled girl. After the black-veiled girl explained the rules in detail, she also said directly, "Do you want to go to the hell-killing field or go to rest for a while?" Because Huliina came to improve her strength, and Bibi Dong had said something to her. Now Huliina is wrapped up tightly, so she said directly to the black-veiled girl, "Take me to the hell-killing field." She didn't want to live in the outer city, this place where stinky rats stay. Rather than saying that this is a paradise of sin, it is better to say that it is a world of beasts. The city is bigger than Huliina imagined. They walked for more than half an hour. When Huliina had some understanding of the outer city, the black-veiled girl had brought him to a city wall. Compared with the outer wall of the slaughter city, this wall was not high, and the highest point was only about 10 meters. Obviously, behind this wall was the inner city of the slaughter city. The city gate was wide open, and there were no guards. The black-veiled girl introduced Huliina indifferently. The inner city does not need guards. As long as people from the outer city have the courage to enter, they can go in at any time. Of course, when they are inside, they must bear the unknowns of the world inside. You have just arrived in the slaughter city. I suggest that you live in the outer city for a while, and wait until you get used to everything here before entering the inner city. After entering the inner city, please do not leave me within 5 meters, otherwise, I cannot guarantee your safety. Is it safe to be with you? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385, Drug Tang San, Huliina said with some curiosity. The black-veiled girl glanced at him, and her not-so-beautiful eyes flashed with pride. "I am the messenger of the King of Slaughter. In the City of Slaughter, no one dares to offend the majesty of the King of Slaughter. The 12 hours after you enter this world is the protection period for newcomers. Having me by your side is the best protection for your life. After this time, Your life and death will be determined by God. There is also a protection period for newcomers. It seems that this city of slaughter really has its own system. Without hesitation, Juliana and the black-veiled girl stepped into the inner city together. As soon as they entered the inner city, Juliana immediately felt an atmosphere that was completely different from the outer city. If the outer city is a dead and indifferent world, then the inner city is a luxurious and crazy world. Various colorful lights can be seen everywhere. The number of people in the inner city is much larger than that in the outer city, which is completely different from the quietness of the outer city. In the inner city, it is extremely chaotic. There were excited laughter, painful cries, and many creepy sounds everywhere. 3 or 4 people were beating a young man. Juliana saw that one of the young man's arms was removed, and the man who removed his arm was still chewing the broken arm. There were some other indescribable things. The inner city can indeed be said to be a city of luxury, or corruption, just as the black-veiled girl said, with her by her side. Although there were many unfriendly eyes on Juliana, no one came forward to harass her. At this time, Feng also took Baiji to hide his body and came to the killing city through the blue-silver emperor seed left on Tang San. Tang San was sitting on the bed in the room at this moment, running the Xuan Gong and recovering from his injuries. He was chased too hard before. There were injuries caused by soul skills everywhere on his body. Fortunately, Tang San is the protagonist in the original work and has great luck. Otherwise, if he was pitted by Feng, he would have died countless times if he were an ordinary person. There is no reason to live. You have to know that the people chasing Tang San are not ordinary people. They are all the big and small forces on this continent. After exposing their whereabouts, they can actually run to the slaughter city. It's incredible. After Feng arrived here, he and Baiji looked at each other and saw the smile in each other's eyes. Obviously, they were going to play a trick on Tang San. Tang San didn't find anything wrong. After all, this was a disguise that even his father Tang Hao couldn't find. The figure and breath were completely hidden. After Feng came to Tang San's side, he smelled the stench on his body and almost vomited. It was still Baiji who directly shot a life energy into Feng's body, which made him feel much better. Feng, who came back to his senses, also directly used his soul power to block his nose. It was really too smelly. Resisting the nausea, Feng set his sights on the storage bag hanging on Tang San's waist. Suddenly, he came up with an idea. Didn't Tang San in the original work use his hidden weapon in the slaughter city to kill his way out? What would happen if there were no hidden weapons? Feng was very interested in this. Anyway, he would be happy to see Tang San get humiliated. Even if there was no mission, the habit he had developed over the years made Feng subconsciously want to do his best to cheat. He would cheat whenever he had the chance. This was a life attitude. It was not enough to cheat. Feng also recorded it. He always had the photo stone in his hand. After confirming his idea, Feng also started his own plan. He took out the juice of the 9-leaf clivia that he had collected for a long time in the starred Great Forest. He did not forget that the Shrek people had completed the cutting there. He also obtained a lot of survival, but he never had the opportunity to use it afterwards. He was crushed by his strength all the way. Now that he finally had the opportunity, he would naturally use it on the little punk. In terms of execution, Feng was still very strong, especially when facing Tang San. It was even more so. No one could stop him. When he thought of this, Feng had already taken out his long-sealed 9-leaf clivia nectar from the ring. Then he winked at Baiji. Baiji understood what he meant and went around to Tang San's back, then chopped Tang San's neck with a knife, and he fainted immediately. Feng blinked his eyes, stared at the bottle in his hand, and fell into deep thought. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Seeing that Feng was still in a daze, Baiji said directly, "Go, feed this to Tang San. Aren't you going to poison him?" After Feng smiled awkwardly, he slowly said, "This is the nectar of the 9-leaf clivia. It's a drug." Baiji also realized why Feng had such an expression at this moment, but he really couldn't help it. "It's so funny." "What is this?" The two of them had completely guessed wrong. This is embarrassing, but the purpose was achieved, although it was relatively direct. However, in order to cover up his embarrassment, Feng still stuffed the nectar in his hand directly into Tang San's mouth. Yes, the kind that even the bottle is stuffed in. Feeling that it was not good enough, Yun Feng used his soul power to control Tang San's mouth. After chewing a few more times, he saw that all the nectar flowed into Tang San's mouth, and then he nodded with satisfaction. Bai Ji, who was standing by, saw this scene and slowly said to Yun Feng, "Are you a devil?" After Yun Feng smiled, he also said directly, "Isn't it because the things are not used up? I feel a little uncomfortable." Tang San had already fainted, and now Yun Feng directly stuffed a bottle of drugs into his mouth. "He won't wake up in 10 days or half a month, don't even think about it." After Yun Feng finished the matter, he also took Tang San's soul guide directly, using soul power to take a look. He immediately found that the little punk actually had so many stocks. It's a bit incredible. He has been hunted down recently. He has used up so many hidden weapons, and there are still so many. But on second thought, it's right, the child of destiny. It's normal to have more hidden weapons. But Yun Feng didn't feel very happy no matter how he thought about it. After getting the things, Yun Feng did not leave directly, but wandered around in this killing city. However, Yun Feng and Bai Ji still tried to cover up. They didn't want to be stared at by these people, and without the smell of Bloody Mary, Yun Feng and Bai Ji would be discovered directly. So they simply hid their breath and figures and started wandering around in the killing city. Bai Ji was not used to it. For Bai Ji, a fierce beast with vitality all over her body, the smell of this kind of place is actually no different from hell. The whole area is filled with a rotten smell. That is the smell of life withering. Chapter 386 The Awakening of the Little Fox. While Yun Feng and Bai Ji were strolling in the city of slaughter, Huliena on the other side also came to the inner city under the leadership of the Black Veil Girl. The inner city can indeed be said to be a city of luxury, or corruption, just as the Black Veil Girl said, with her by her side. Although there were many unfriendly eyes on Huliena, no one came forward to harass him. Here, Huliena's heart kept shrinking, and in her eyes, she saw too many things she had never seen before. Men and women were killed at any time on the street, and some were even killed in the process. Huliena clearly saw that the man was directly cut in the throat by the sharp blade spit out from the woman's mouth while he was confused. He took the blood in a cup and made a Bloody Mary. Although there was no food in his stomach, Huliena almost vomited several times. The disgust for this world is increasing exponentially. She suddenly found that in this city of killing, she didn't need to deliberately control it at all, and the killing intent would continue to surge up. It seems that only through killing can the accumulated hostility in her heart be released. As they were walking, suddenly, there was some commotion ahead. There were at least dozens of people surrounding there, and screams were heard from them. A stream of blood suddenly gushed out from inside, and the onlookers made way for a path, and a figure slowly walked out from inside. The man was holding a short sword that was more than a foot long and flashing with cold light. He killed anyone he saw, completely without any rules. At this moment, Huliena also deeply realized why the Slaughter City was called the Slaughter City. Because it was full of killing everywhere. There was no ethics or morality at all, and no humanity at all. Being kind here would only hurt yourself. Yun Feng and Bai Ji also walked into the inner city at this moment and saw Huliena, who looked uncomfortable. Afterwards, they remembered that in the original work, Huliena seemed to have come to the Slaughter City at this time, but Tang San arrived here too early. The timeline has changed a little bit. If you want to survive, it's best to stay away from this man. The voice of the black-veiled girl sounded in Huliena's ears. There was clearly some hostility towards the man in her words. "Why?" the black-veiled girl said. "This man has been in the Slaughter City for almost a year. In 1 year, he won 16 out of 16 battles in the Hell Slaughter Field, and all his opponents were slaughtered by him. In the Slaughter City, his current performance can already be ranked within the top 100. 16 wins can be ranked within the top 100? Huliena asked curiously. The black-veiled girl glanced at Huliena, and then said, "Do you think the battles in the Hell Slaughter Field are the same as the great fighting arenas in the outside world? Here, every battle is a matter of life and death. Even the winner may be attacked after the game. Being able to maintain a record of 16 wins is already quite terrifying. To be precise, no one here will be your friend. Everyone may have murderous intentions towards you. even the seemingly harmless boy. I've learned your lesson, let's go. The Hell Slaughter Field is in front of us. It's the core of the Slaughter City. Under the guidance of the black-veiled girl, Juliana saw a special building. The building is circular, or more accurately, a non-standard cone. The area at the bottom is the largest, and it narrows as it goes up. When it reaches a height of about 30 meters from the ground, it maintains the same diameter and extends upward to 50 meters. The area of this hell-killing field is indeed not small, not much different from the big fighting spirit field that Juliana has been to before, and it is only slightly smaller than the big fighting spirit field in Tandu City. The black building gives people a very depressing feeling. The black-veiled girl introduced to Juliana that the location of this hell-killing field is the center of the entire killing city. It can be seen how important its position is in the killing city. Are there no rules for fighting here? Juliana asked. The black-veiled girl said, it's very simple. After entering, sign up with your own ID card, and then wait for the game to start. During the waiting period, you are not allowed to take action. Each group of people entering the killing field is 10. No matter what method you use, as long as you can walk out alive in the end, it's fine. There is only one person in each group who can come out alive. 10 survive 1. It really deserves to be the killing city. Juliana continued to ask, then how can you get the so-called championship? The black-veiled girl looked at Juliana in surprise. As long as you can participate in 100 games, you will be the champion. However, the person who ranks first in the hell-killing field has only participated in 67 games. Every time you participate in a game, your identity card will have one more victory, which means you can live here for one more year and enjoy yourself in the inner city. Of course, you have to make sure you can still live after enjoying yourself. I want to go in and take a look. Juliana's voice was full of determination. The black-veiled girl said, the qualification to watch the game is to contribute a glass of Bloody Mary. It can be your own or someone else's. As long as you don't feel tired, you can keep watching after entering. The game is going on. As long as someone signs up and gathers 10 people, you can start a game. Juliana frowned slightly. He couldn't understand why this killing city would attach so much importance to blood. At this time, several people were walking into the killing field from outside. As expected, as the black-veiled girl said, everyone was holding a glass of scarlet blood. With a thought in his mind, Juliana had an idea. He strode towards the last person who was about to enter. Feng saw this scene and said calmly, it seems that this little fox is about to awaken and become so decisive. Please give me your Bloody Mary. Blocking the bald man's way, Juliana stretched out her right hand to the other party. The bald man was stunned for a moment, and looked at the black-veiled girl beside Juliana, with a fierce light in his eyes. The black-veiled girl's voice sounded a little anxiously. Madam, if you take the initiative to provoke, the protection of newcomers will not work. This sentence not only reminded Juliana, but also reminded the bald man. With a grim smile, I don't know where the bald man conjured a sawtooth machete from, and chopped down at Juliana head-on. His movements did not look fast, but there was a feeling of a mountain pressing down on his head. That was a strong fluctuation of soul power. At least level 50. This was Juliana's judgment of the opponent, but she did not retract her outstretched hand, turned her right palm up, and took out a sharp sword directly from the soul guide. It collided directly with the sawtooth machete. The sound of metal colliding suddenly rang out. But soon, in the eyes of everyone, the bald man's machete was directly cut off by the sharp sword, and the sword continued to move forward, directly cutting off the bald man's head. Blood spurted everywhere. After seeing this, Juliana reached out and took the Bloody Mary from the bald man. After getting the Bloody Mary, Juliana turned around and walked inside without saying much. Although the set of movements was a bit awkward, it was extremely neat. Let's go, Juliana said calmly to the dazed girl in black veil. Chapter 387 Tang San's Transformation, a short-lived ghost at first glance. This was the second time the black-veiled girl saw the newcomer take action today. Compared with the first time, this time it shocked her even more. She knew the bald man. In the hell-killing field, the bald man had persisted for 7 games. In other words, he was the only survivor who had fought out of 70 people. It seemed that the young man in front of him was not much stronger than his opponent. but killing him was as easy as pinching an ant to death. Inside the hell killing field, it looked even simpler than the outside, without any isolation. The outer periphery was a circle of stands extending upwards, and below was a huge open field with a diameter of hundreds of square meters. At this time, there were not many people watching the battle. Only less than 20% of the huge venue was occupied. In the venue, screams were constantly ringing. There were a total of 10 people, and 7 bodies had already been found. Only the last 3 were left fighting for survival. When entering the door, the cup of Bloody Mary that Juliana was holding under the guidance of the black-veiled girl was poured into a huge container. "Please sign up for me. I want to participate in the next game," Juliana said to the black-veiled girl. At this time, the black-veiled girl no longer thought that the girl in front of her was an idiot. Juliana's strength made her feel a little fear involuntarily. She nodded without hesitation and took the identity card handed by Juliana. The only feeling Juliana had about the killing city was disgusting. The place was full of the smell of decay. Therefore, she was unwilling to stay here for even one more day. After winning 100 games and winning the championship, she could leave here by challenging the Hell Road. She had decided that the battle would start today, and she would leave here quickly. The killing journey began from this day. In this dark world, in this world full of blood and depravity, she not only had to win one victory after another, but also had to walk out alive. A week after entering the killing city, Juliana had killed more than 3 digits of degenerates, and the competitions she participated in were all completed at the speed of light. Although she could not use soul power, she had experienced it in the Death Canyon. It took a week for Juliana to understand that in this place, the real horror was not the enemies in the hell-killing field. It was the constant sneak attacks he had to face when he was at his weakest after the game. Feng also came here occasionally. After thinking for a while, when Juliana fell asleep, he stripped a little bit of his blue-silver emperor vitality and slowly sent it into Juliana's mouth and into her stomach. With the help of BG's life energy, it was an extra layer of life guarantee. He was able to save Juliana's life at a critical moment. After all, he couldn't always be in the killing city. This was also some compensation for taking away those soul bones before. It was not because Feng was lustful and fell in love with Juliana. He was such a brilliant man. But BG's eyes made Feng feel ashamed. A month later, Juliana's number of victories in the hell-killing field had increased to 9. Now there are fewer and fewer people who dare to sneak attack her, but they are also getting stronger. As the number of wins increased, he learned another rule, that is, in each new game, the number of times the opponent he faced participated in the hell-killing game could not be less than 5 times as himself, unless everyone had participated in less than this number. At this time, Tang San had also woken up. Feng did not do it so drastically, and still left a stream of energy that could sustain Tang San's life and Tang San's body. Of course, this was Feng's request to BG. He did not want to waste his blue-silver emperor's vitality. What if this thing cured Tang San? After Tang San got up, he only felt dizzy and extremely uncomfortable. His stomach was so hungry that he almost vomited blood. But this was not the point. Tang San resisted the nausea in his heart, and after rubbing his body for a while, he relaxed a lot. At least there were no parts missing from his body, which he could accept. This is the killing city. It's not the outside world. It's full of dangers everywhere. This is a world of cannibalism. But soon Tang San found something wrong again. He was indeed missing something. His soul guide is gone. Tang San, who noticed this, started to search the whole room, but after searching for a few times, Tang San also understood. His soul guide may not be found. There is no trace of storage soul guide in the room, and the things that gave him a foothold in the city of slaughter have now completely disappeared. Tang San can no longer bear the depression in his heart. Since he came to this world, the whole world seems to be against him. Life is full of misfortunes, that's all. Even the martial spirit he practiced has disappeared. Now there is only a clear sky hammer, and his body movements and martial arts brought from his previous life. If he is only facing some opponents of the same level, and he can't use soul skills, Tang San is naturally not afraid. But the problem is here. He heard the Black Veil girl say the rules before, The hell killing field is randomly matched. That means, he may match with low-level opponents, but he also has the opportunity to match with high-level opponents. If a soul saint dies, with their physical fitness, and only one person can survive, then no matter how you think about it, you will lose, and the price of losing is complete death, becoming someone else's Bloody Mary. How could Tang San not be terrified? All the previous plans were broken at this moment. Tang San now hated the person who stole his storage soul guide. Who is it? So wicked. Even if they stole it, would they use it? Harming others and not benefiting yourself. Tang San's anger almost became real, and the angry voice hiding in the void watched this scene with a smile. So cool, so cool. He didn't know why Tang San's anger was completely different from others. This was anger without any impurities. It was irreplaceable by others. This was also the source of why he abandoned Yao Gang so quickly. But Tang San didn't roar for long, and his stomach was cramped again. He had already lost the Blue-Silver Emperor bloodline, and his physical fitness was worrying. Later, he was chased and killed, and he was seriously injured. Now that he hadn't eaten for such a long time, he needed to replenish his energy. Tang San's current appearance was no different from that of a demon from hell. His cheekbones were prominent, his eyes were sunken, and his face was pale. If he were to be put outside, he would look like a dying ghost. Tang San had no choice but to walk out of the room in order to survive, staring at everyone on the street with green eyes. Soon, in a state of hunger, Tang San couldn't bear it anymore. Chapter 388 Tang Hao's miserable condition. Just like the scene he saw on the street before, holding the clear sky hammer high, he smashed the man he thought was the easiest to bully into pieces. Then he leaned over and began to wriggle. If Yun Feng saw this scene here, he would definitely sigh that this was completely different from when Tang San entered here in the original book. Tang San completely lost all his capital. The immortal grass was gone, the 8 spider lands was gone, the Blue-Silver Emperor bloodline was gone, and the Blue-Silver Grass martial spirit was gone. Even the skills of his previous life were not unique to him. He was even more alone and had no relatives, and it was difficult for him to move forward. The whole world was hunting him down. Poor. On the other side, Huliana was treated completely differently. After Yun Feng went back, he even came to the martial spirit hall through the 5th soul skill, and took Bibi Dong directly through space to Huliana's residence, and watched Huliana's battle. Bibi Dong saw that her disciple had completely changed in just 2 months, and she felt a little reluctant in her heart. But thinking that these were her own choices, Bibi Dong would not interfere too much in this matter. The reason is very simple. You have to finish the road you choose even if you cry, right? She would not interfere too much in this matter. However, after learning that Yun Feng had arranged a layer of life protection for her, she felt relieved. At least she could be saved once, right? After doing all this, Yun Feng also returned to the territory of the Tandu Empire. After thinking about it, he did not go back directly with Bai Ji, but chose to go to the valley of the Sunset Forest. Sunset Forest, yin-yang eyes of ice and fire. Although Yin has transformed now, it is still a soul beast in essence, so it is also working hard to practice. And the place for practice that Yun Feng found for their Blue-Silver Grass clan is simply heaven. It is really great. Not only is the environment suitable, but it is also not easy to find. The outside is full of poisonous fog all year round. Without some cultivation, it is difficult to get in, and you will die outside this valley if you force your way in. After thinking that this place was provided by Yun Feng, Yin's heart was very complicated. Thinking of her previous promise, Yin felt her face flushed. First, he saved her life, then he helped her see through Tang Hao and Tang San's true colors, and now he has settled her tribe. So she didn't know how to repay Yun Feng. Yun Feng was surrounded by so many women, which made Yin extremely distressed. She sighed. Hey, but this sigh was heard directly by Yun Feng and by Ji, who came to the valley. Seeing Yin's thoughtful look, Yun Feng smiled and came directly to Yin, hugged her, and whispered in her ear, "Is there something you are not satisfied with here? Why are you sighing?" When Yun Feng's hand touched her body, Yin's whole body stiffened for a moment. After hearing the voice, she relaxed. Yun Feng felt the soft jade in his arms and the faint fragrance that fell to the tip of his nose, and he felt refreshed. Yun was still somewhat unaccustomed to Yun Feng's intimacy, but now she had no choice. After thinking it through, she leaned on Yun Feng's shoulder with a little hesitation. "You said you were so nice to me, just to covet my body?" After Yun Feng laughed, he slowly said, "A gentleman loves a beautiful lady. This doesn't seem to be wrong. This is the truth. But Yun is not a girl who knows nothing now." After rolling her eyes at Yun Feng, she slowly said, "You talk in a high-sounding manner, but you are still lustful." When Yun Feng heard this, he was instantly embarrassed. Looking at Yun Feng's expression, Baiji couldn't help laughing out loud. When Baiji laughed out loud, Yun also noticed the senior who helped her. He stepped forward to salute and said softly, "Senior." After hearing this title, Baiji pretended to be dissatisfied and said, "You are still calling me senior. You should call me sister." Yun saw Baiji saying this, and after glancing in Yun Feng's direction, she changed the title. Sister. Actually, under the influence of Yun Feng's halo, Yun now also has a certain weight in her heart, especially since Yun Feng has helped her so much. It should be like this in terms of emotion and reason. If she keeps being reserved, it would seem that she is a little ungrateful. The love, hatred and vengeance between soul beasts are just that simple. After a simple chat for a while, Yun Feng also turned the topic to Yun. Yun, how is your cultivation recovery now? Yun saw that Yun Feng was talking about business, nodded, and responded, "It's alright. This place is very suitable for our plant-type soul beasts to practice, and it contains huge energy." Yun Feng looked at the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire not far away and nodded. After the ice and fire dragon king left, this treasure land did not dissipate. It is unknown how many years this place has existed. After the war in the god realm, it drifted here. The energy has formed a cycle. Thinking of this, Yun Feng said slowly, "That's good. If you can recover your strength quickly, it will be a great help to me." Seeing that Yun Feng had said so, Yun did not ask what she could do to help him. Anyway, she was his, wasn't she? It was no longer her style to care about some trivial things. Now she was very open-minded. "Okay, I'll do it as soon as possible." Yun Feng was very happy to see this. He hugged her and slowly walked towards the wooden house. By the way, he also called out to Biji not to disturb her. After all, Biji was not his woman yet, although he was also greedy for Biji's body. Time passed quickly, and Yun Feng came out again the next day. At this time, he had returned to Lanba Academy. After reporting safety to the girls, he went to Yuxuan to find Zook. Zook was also very happy to see Yun Feng during class. She wanted to ask for leave, but after seeing Yun Feng shaking his head, he had to suppress his excitement and began to wait slowly for the end of class. Yun Feng saw that Zook couldn't be solved for a while, and a plump figure emerged in his mind. It was Tang Yue. This woman is really hard to conquer, and no one knows why. Obviously, under Yun Feng's propaganda, Tang Yuxuan knew what Tang Hao did. I don't know why she kept insisting. Yun Feng could clearly feel her affection, but she just kept rejecting him. It took Tang Hao 2 months to finally return to the mountain where Yun had been hiding before. As for why it took so long, of course, it was because the tendons and veins in his body were broken, and there was no possibility of healing. He couldn't use his soul power. If he used it, he suspected that he would explode and die in the next second. The terrain of the mountain is complicated. When Tang Hao arrived here, he didn't know how much suffering he had suffered and how many times he fell before he climbed up. Chapter 389 The Fall of Tang San. After all, he can no longer use his soul power. In order to see his son, he also wants to explain some funeral affairs. In addition, after his death, his soul bones need to be inherited. It's a pity that he can't accompany his son to grow up, but with the help of his sister, if his son has talent, maybe one day he can return to Hashin sect. So after Tang Hao came here with full of expectations, he could no longer suppress his inner joy. He endured the severe pain in his body and came to the familiar wooden house. There is a huge waterfall next to him. The water splashed and the waves were rippling. The wooden house was built not far from the waterfall. Tang Hao looked at the closed door in broad daylight, frowned slightly, and didn't know why he always had a bad premonition, and the closer he got to the wooden house, the more uneasy he felt. It was as if his heart was being grabbed. Realizing that something was wrong, Tang Hao quickly knocked on the door with his hands and shouted loudly, "Kinger, it's me, Tang Hao, open the door." Tang Hao shouted for a long time, but there was no movement inside, and his heart sank. Now he didn't have time to think about anything else, and he directly summoned his martial soul, the clear sky hammer, and smashed it against the wooden door. He knew the consequences of using soul power, and his meridians in his body no longer allowed him to do this. Even if it was just a simple use of soul power to summon the martial soul, blood flowed directly from the corner of Tang Hao's mouth. His face was as white as paper. His body was even more shaky, as if he would die here at any time. But Tang Hao was Tang Hao after all. In the face of such serious injuries, he was still able to hold on to his will, pushed open the smashed gatehouse, and staggered in. The furnishings in the wooden house remained the same, but it was covered with dust. There was also a letter left on the table. When Tang Hao saw this, he already had a guess in his heart, but he was still unwilling to admit it. After opening the letter tremblingly, he saw the first sentence. He could no longer control his excitement and vomited blood again. After reading it, he fell to the ground. His eyes were blank, and he stared at the forest outside the house. The letter fell, and the general meaning written on it was, "The child died. I don't know why he died, but he died." She was speechless in front of Tang Hao's face, so she left with the child. The child was buried next to the wooden house, and it was written on it to thank Tang Hao for bringing her out of that place. The letter was full of guilt, and the words were full of sadness. Suddenly, Tang Hao, who had already fallen to the ground, struggled to stand up, walked out of the wooden house step by step, and came to the place where the letter was written. Looking at the small hill, Tang Hao laughed, a crazy laugh. In this extremely sad time, he suddenly thought of some details that he had not noticed before. The letter said that his son died, and he didn't know why. Isn't this talking about Tang San? Who else can do this except Tang San? You know, Tang San in his previous life was good at using hidden weapons and poison, and no one had contacted his son during this period, so the target could only be Tang San. In addition, how could he not see the murderous intent that occasionally appeared in Tang San's eyes? It's just that he relied on his own cultivation and planning and didn't want to dare his face at that time, so he had been playing tricks on Tang San, but he didn't expect it. Tang San actually dared to do it under his nose, and not long after they left, his youngest son was poisoned. He hated it. He hated why he didn't slap Tang San to death when he was still young. Why did he have to wait until now, after causing a disaster, to regret it? After venting his anger, Tang Hao also fell powerlessly on this small mound. Lying with him was a rotten female corpse, with a knife scattered beside him. The backlash of soul power was so severe that Tang Hao couldn't even open his eyes. The hidden injuries that he had suppressed forcefully before all burst out at this moment. His body was like fragile porcelain. Tang Hao tried hard to open his eyes and looked at the huge waterfall. A trace of regret flashed in his gray eyes. Is this retribution? Ah! Tang Hao's eyes could no longer be opened. This soul master who was once known as the first genius on the continent was completely left in this place, along with his sins and hopes. At the same time, in Hashin sect, the middle-aged man sitting on the position of the sect master inexplicably felt a discomfort in his body. After muttering twice, he returned to the room to rest. Tang Yue, who was talking to Yun Feng and Yuxuan, also felt a heartache. The pain came quickly and disappeared quickly. Yun Feng saw Tang Yue's discomfort and was very considerate to help him check it out. After finding that there was nothing serious, he was relieved. In fact, Tang Yue had already been moved by Yun Feng, who was so considerate. She also knew that there was no possibility for her and that person. Now that he had left the Tandu Empire with a prostitute, he had completely given up. Facing the pursuit of a young, promising, handsome and wealthy boy, Tang Yue's heart had long been shaky, and it was only a matter of time before he could take her down. And Tang San was still fighting madly on the streets of the slaughter city. He didn't dare to go to the hell slaughter field. The life experiences of these years had completely denied him. He began to get scared, and he began to fear facing all this. He didn't want to die either. After all, He didn't know if he would be killed directly with his current strength. He didn't dare to gamble. So in this environment, Tang San had slowly begun to adapt to the rules here, and then took the initiative to join in. Every day, he had nothing to do, standing on the street and wantonly venting his inner evil. He found that this place was simply his paradise. 1 year later, the cold breath was suffocating. In the Hell Slaughter field, a total of 10 people slowly walked in. Juliana walked in the third of the 10 people, but she was the focus of attention of the other 9 people. 67 times of participation means 67 wins. This is Juliana's current record. In the entire Hell Killing field, there is only one person who has a better record than him. Everyone who comes here to participate, in addition to the right to continue to survive in the Killing City, is most looking forward to 100 wins. With the title of 100 champions, you can become a resident of the Killing City forever. In addition to not being able to leave here, you have the highest authority here, and you can even become a guest of the King of Killing. In the 67 battles, Juliana's men have already killed more than 1,000 people. Chapter 390 Turning, Kicking, Hands Flying. However, in the past 2 months, no one dared to attack her even after the game was over. It was not that Juliana did not want to finish the 100 battles quickly, but because when she won more games, fewer and fewer people dared to fight in her killing competition. It often took several days to gather 10 people, and that was when the Hell Killing field did not disclose the specific time of her participation in advance. In the past year, Juliana has become a star-like figure in the Hell Killing field. It took only 1 year to achieve such results. She can already be ranked in the top 10 since the establishment of the Killing City. Compared with when she first came here, Juliana's expression has a layer of coldness, and even a faint bloody smell is released from her body. Cold, bloodthirsty, and cruel have long become her synonyms. It is not that strong soul power can defeat the opponent. In Juliana's hands, several opponents with soul power over level 80 have died. A soul master without soul skills is like a tiger without claws. What's more, Juliana herself is even more terrifying, like a killing machine. The most dangerous time was when Juliana, who had just destroyed 2 opponents with soul power exceeding level 80 in the game, was weak and walked out of the Hell Killing field. She was immediately besieged by hundreds of people. She had countless knife wounds on her body, but the final result was that all the hundreds of people died and no bones were left. However, Juliana crawled out of the pile of dead bodies with black gas all over her body and muscles rolling. And under the gaze of everyone, her injuries recovered completely soon. Everyone who saw this scene was scared. Even Juliana herself didn't know that there was such a huge amount of life energy hidden in her body. After thinking for a long time, she couldn't figure out who helped her. It was even more impossible for her teacher. After all, her teacher's martial spirit was full of the breath of killing and death. It was impossible to have such life energy. Juliana, who had been thinking for a long time but didn't get an answer, also gave up thinking. But she remembered this favor in her heart, and then carefully checked her body. Knowing that she had completely lost this energy, Juliana became more cautious. But the good times didn't last long. Because of Juliana's winning streak, the people in the Hell Killing field began to become extremely powerful. It seemed that they were no longer randomly selecting candidates. Instead, they were deliberately targeting them. However, even Juliana, who knew there was something fishy going on, couldn't say anything. After all, the King of Killing was in charge here, and he was the only one who could dominate this place. His strength was even more unfathomable. She had long given up this childish idea. When the enemy came, the generals would cover him, and when the water came, the earth would block it. This was her only choice. After she defeated the other 9 people, she had been on guard against the attacks around her. But this time the attack was obviously more outrageous than the previous one. Almost twice the manpower of the last time was dispatched, and they were all frantically besieging and killing her. Even the sword skills and moves that Juliana had honed in this year were not enough at this moment. After she frantically killed more than 100 people, she was completely in despair. She couldn't kill all the people here. Everyone was staring at her, wishing to eat a few pieces of her meat. When she was helpless, a burst of green energy burst out from her body again, completely healing her injuries and soul power in just a few seconds. The people who surrounded her were dumbfounded after seeing this. Some people who didn't believe in evil thought that Juliana was pretending, and they were all beheaded by her in less than 2 rounds. After seeing this scene, the rest of the people also fled here one after another. It was as if they were not the ones who surrounded Juliana just now. After being treated by this power, Juliana was also confused. She didn't know who was helping her, and according to this situation, the other party must be someone inside the killing city. Otherwise, how to explain that after she held onto her body, such an energy appeared again? It can't be that someone outside helped her. In fact, Juliana didn't know that Yun Feng would bring Bibi Dong to visit Juliana every once in a while. The last time he came, he saw that the life energy in Juliana's body had completely disappeared. Yun Feng joined forces with BBG to make up for it again. That's why that scene happened. 3 days later, she walked into the hell-killing field again as if nothing had happened. That day, no one dared to fight. There was no battle in the hell-killing field for 24 hours. That time, Juliana became famous in one battle. Her nickname in the killing city is now Hell Killer. This year, Juliana's soul power has improved very little, only 1 level, but she believes that now she can completely defeat the 3 of herself a year ago at the same time. She also understands the meaning of her teacher's words more and more. Only by constantly struggling on the edge of life and death can you understand the true meaning of actual combat. Of course, this is what she hopes for, just to defeat Yun Feng. Prove it to her teacher. Anyone who comes to the killing city and struggles on the line of death every day will fall. Everyone needs a way to relieve, but she doesn't. After the battle, she always goes to a small house to practice. When she walks out of the small house, her only place to go is the hell-killing field. Defeating Yun Feng has become her obsession. I don't know how many tough guys want to spend a good night with this hell killer, but what greeted them was only Juliana's cold murderous aura and the ruthless sword in her hand. And in this year, because of her obsession with Yun Feng, Juliana knew in her heart that she had fallen in love with that man. After all, she thought about him all the time every day. In addition, it was killing. There were no other activities, which made Yun Feng leave a deep impression in Juliana's heart. Thinking of Yun Feng's amazing sword swing in the spirit hall, the whole person became sick. Defeat him, conquer him, defeat him, conquer him. She was completely sure that there was no room for anyone in her heart except him, but Juliana sighed deeply. Unfortunately, he was from the Tandu Empire and the 7 Treasures glazed sect. Born in the spirit hall, she sometimes fell into deep self-doubt. In addition to killing, the most terrifying thing in the city of slaughter is loneliness, and now Juliana is in this deep loneliness. After venting her anger, when Juliana recovered, she returned to the killing field of hell again. 9 people rushed at her from 9 different directions, but it did not disturb her mood at all. Her figure flickered like an illusion, and her feet seemed to have springs installed. Juliana's body flashed in front of a trembling opponent in an instant. The next moment, the steel knife in that person's hand had already embedded in her neck. Turning around, kicking, hands flying, after dealing with this enemy, Juliana held the sword in one hand and slashed at the remaining 8 people neatly. During this period of time, she has become accustomed to one-on-many. Chapter 391. She can totally create another city of killing. Anyway, since her winning streak began, she has always been a thorn in the eyes of others. They all focused their fire first, wanting to kill her. Juliana didn't care. The sword rose and fell, and the thoughts lingering in Juliana's mind now became her motivation, and she also realized something of her own from the first move. Otherwise, Juliana wouldn't have won so many victories in the hell-killing field so quickly. After thinking for a long time, Juliana didn't get an answer. Naturally, she picked up the sword and swung it. Because the impression was so deep, she realized her own sword intent. The sword intent of the main illusion. Countless sparkling lights shone from the sword in Juliana's hand. It was the sword energy formed by soul power. The piercing sound of breaking through the air was agitated. Screams rang out one after another. Only 3 people were able to survive Juliana's sword energy. It was not because they could dodge Juliana's sword energy, but because they all had a body of their former companion in their hands, or to be precise, a corpse. 2 level 60, 1 level 70, that is, 2 soul emperors and 1 soul saint. If they can use soul skills, these 3 people are enough to bring a fatal threat to Juliana, who is only in her 50s. But this is the city of slaughter. After Juliana's forging through the spirit hall system, her physical strength is much higher than theirs. Soul power is indeed heavy, but without skills, soul power has no absolute effect. The 3 people moved at the same time. They all held the corpse in one hand and the weapon in the other. Under the effect of their own strong soul power, they rushed towards Juliana from 3 angles. Their minds have completely locked on the 68 twin hell killer in front of them. They know that victory or defeat depends on this move, and there is only this one chance. But Juliana's sword intent is understood by Feng. Seeing them like this, Juliana's mouth revealed a slight arc. In fact, if it weren't for Feng, she might have died here a long time ago. After thinking about this, Juliana closed her eyes directly. The sword energy surrounded her, and her body spun rapidly. No one could see clearly how Juliana attacked, and 9 arc-shaped sword energy flew out of her body. When the 3 people who were rushing over approached Juliana, they didn't know why they slowed down their pace and smiled foolishly, as if something beautiful had appeared in front of them. But it didn't last long. 3 sword energies from each of the 3 people pierced her head, neck and heart respectively. 3 seconds later, the battle stopped. There was a blood mark on Juliana's shoulder, which was left by the soul saint and her opponent. Unfortunately, before he cut Juliana, he already had a sword mark on his heart. The aorta on both sides of his neck was also embedded with sword energy, so his knife, which was full of soul power after he reacted to the pain, only left Juliana with a 3-inch long wound. The other 2 didn't even have time to react, and they got their lunch boxes directly. After the battle, Juliana was not in a hurry to leave. She slowly walked to each of her previous opponents and stomped on them. The skull was like a broken egg under her feet, and the white light emitted from her feet prevented any splash of filth from getting on her body. Previous battles taught Juliana that she should not give up her vigilance until the opponent's head was broken. In order to understand this truth, she once paid the price of breaking 3 ribs. Juliana's charming eyes flashed with a special brilliance. She raised her head and looked at the sky, muttering in her heart, "Feng, you helped me again." But Feng didn't know anything about this, because although Juliana's sword intent was born from Feng's attack, it was not like him at all. 69 wins. This is Juliana's current record. The City of Slaughter, a dark and spacious room. It was an exceptionally large chair, inlaid with blue and purple crystals. These crystals outlined a drum tower shape. Except for this chair, everything here was dark red. The Hellslayer won another game. A cold female voice sounded in the darkness. "I know." A tall figure sat down on the giant chair. In the darkness, his appearance could not be seen clearly, but it could be vaguely seen that this person was tall and thin. "Great King, should we start to contact her? It has been a long time since a truly powerful person joined the Slaughter City." "Do you think he is a truly powerful person?" asked the tall man sitting upright on the chair. "At least in terms of skills, she is. The Hellslayer seems to be born for the Slaughter City. Her soul power is not particularly strong, but her various skills and sword intent are terrifyingly strong. Even if a titled Buo is in the Slaughter City, it is difficult to kill her without soul skills. I can be sure that there is at least 1 soul bone in the Hellslayer." The King of Slaughter was silent for a moment. "Then do you think, can she complete 100 games and challenge the Hell Road?" "It's only a matter of time before she completes 100 games, but she may not be able to walk the Hell Road yet," the King of Slaughter said coldly. "No need to contact her." "Why, Great King? Don't you want our Slaughter City to become stronger?" "Although we had an agreement with the Spirit Hall thousands of years ago." "But who knows when they will tear up the agreement," the King of Slaughter said coldly. "The Spirit Hall has no time to take care of us now." "A month ago, a guest came. Do you remember?" "Guest?" "Yes, it's one of the only 2 remaining gods of killing in the world." "Could it be that the Hell Killer is related to that god of killing?" The cold female voice trembled a little. The King of Slaughter said calmly, "You guessed right. In this world, if there is anyone who can truly threaten the City of Slaughter, it is only the Spirit Hall, and she, the Hell Killer, is the disciple of that god of slaughter. You should know that people who pass through the hell road can still use soul skills within the city of slaughter, and this hell killer was sent in by the most terrifying of the two gods of slaughter. Let everything take its course. Although I don't want another god of slaughter to appear, I am even more unwilling to bear the wrath of that god of slaughter. After all, she is a crazy woman. The cold female voice took a breath. The great king of slaughter, I'm afraid he will bring some unpredictable results to the city of slaughter. After all, every appearance of a god of slaughter will be accompanied by a crisis for the city of slaughter. Isn't there such an instruction on the fable wall of our city of slaughter? The coming of the god of slaughter, the disaster of hell. The previous few times, every time the god of slaughter appeared, the city of slaughter suffered heavy damage. If he really comes again this time, I'm afraid. The king of slaughter said in a deep voice, I have thought of this problem, but what can I do? Will I abandon the city of slaughter for that instruction? If that person goes crazy by then, where can we go? If we cut off our food and water, how long can we survive? Our existence is actually supported by the spirit hall. If we don't obey, she can completely create another city of slaughter. Do you understand what I mean? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392 Teacher, you are here? ? After hearing this, the cold female voice fell silent. With blood-red eyes floating in the air, the king of slaughter muttered to himself, I just hope that under normal circumstances, she can't hold on to the 100th game, let alone pass the hell road. Otherwise, the god of slaughter appears, and I'm afraid the disaster of the slaughter city will also come. With a big hand wave, a thick dark red liquid flew out from in front of him. In the darkness, in front of him was a huge pool of blood, which was full of sticky blood. He opened his mouth and swallowed the blood into his stomach. In the dim light, two fangs were vaguely revealed. Time was spent in waiting and practicing. Sitting cross-legged in the hut where she lived, Hulina's body was constantly filled with coldness. The huge murderous aura was constantly rotating around her body and affecting her. It has been nearly 2 years since she came here. She is only one game away from the title of the champion of the Hell Slaughter field, but Hulina found that she seemed to be collapsing. In 2 years, more than 1,000 fallen people died in her hands, even though those people were evil and fallen. However, every time she killed a person, Hulina would feel the murderous aura on her body surge, and these murderous auras were also affecting her invisibly. The reason why it took 2 years to gradually approach the final 100 wins, in addition to the problem of the number of participants, the bigger problem came from Hulina herself. The rising murderous aura was nothing at the beginning, but when Hulina killed more than 100 people here, she found that these murderous auras began to affect her own mind. At the beginning, she only occasionally showed bloodthirsty emotions, but as time went on, the murderous aura became more and more obvious. It was as if she wanted to kill any living creature she saw. Killing a person casually was as simple as crushing an ant. Therefore, in addition to participating in the competition, Hulina's main direction of cultivation was no longer to improve her own strength, but to suppress the increasingly strong murderous aura. In addition to the previous understanding of Yun Feng's sword intent, this allowed her to fight against this terrifying murderous intent. But at the same time, Hulina also used the killing during the competition as a way to vent. Until not long ago, when Hulina completed 99 games in the hell killing field, she felt vaguely that she was about to lose control of the murderous aura in her body. This is why she has not yet held the 100th game. In this killing city, it is no exaggeration to describe her as a murderer. It is also because of her rise in the past 2 years that fewer and fewer fallen people dare to participate in the competition in the hell killing field. More people choose to survive with the games they have accumulated in the past, and those who have used up their games also survive by contributing blood. After all, compared with going up and dying, lingering on is definitely the choice of most people. And Tang San is the loser in the past 2 years. Seeing that Tang San was not awake for a day, The god of anger has not paid attention to this thing. After all, he came to have fun, not to be a saint who saves the suffering. If Tang San cannot satisfy himself, he will not lose anything. Anyway, these 2 years in the god realm are just a few days. It will not be boring. Tang San seemed to have forgotten all these things, and he had been sinking into this world, not wanting to wake up. Every time he was conscious for a short time, he would brainwash himself and say, "Start tomorrow, start tomorrow." But tomorrow after tomorrow, how many tomorrows there are? Then it dragged on for 2 years. After facing this series of blows, Tang San had completely fallen. He didn't dare to go out, nor did he dare to think about the future. After all, this matter would be enough to make anyone collapse countless times. It might be a miracle that Tang San could hold on. After all, most people don't want to live anymore. In the room, Juliana was preparing for her 100th game, but she had accumulated too much murderous intent, and she couldn't calm down. Just when she was about to be engulfed by this murderous intent, a space fluctuation suddenly attracted Juliana's attention. The pair of pink eyes that were originally full of charm were now stained red with blood. Picking up the sword, she stabbed at the abnormal space without hesitation, but it was blocked by something, and there was a sound of metal collision. Juliana quickly put away her sword and wanted to try again, but she heard a familiar voice coming from inside. "It seems that you have made great progress in the past 2 years, Liana." Juliana's eyes, which were originally full of murderous intent, were quickly dissipating as she looked at this familiar figure. She could no longer hold back her tears and dropped them directly. After a mournful cry, she put away her sword and threw herself directly into Bibi Dong's arms. "Teacher, woo woo woo, teacher, why are you here?" After comforting Juliana for a while, Bibi Dong said, "If I hadn't come, based on your performance just now, you might have completely lost yourself after the 100th game." After hearing this, Juliana was completely stunned and immediately found the key point. "Teacher, how did you know?" Bibi Dong didn't say much, but after slowly letting Juliana go, she leaned to the side, revealing most of her vision. Juliana followed Bibi Dong's gaze and immediately saw the man she had been thinking about day and night, the man who had been in her mind for the past 2 years. After being stunned for a while, she opened her red lips and said slowly with an unknown expression, "Yun Feng." After hearing Juliana's call, Yun Feng smiled and said warmly, "Yes, it's me." "Why, are you surprised to see me?" Juliana looked at her teacher, then looked at Yun Feng, nodded, and said with a hint of unnaturalness in her tone, "It's a bit unexpected. Why did you come here with my teacher?" Yun Feng smiled indifferently and said slowly, "I think coming here is not a casual thing. Besides, I have been here for more than 100 times. When Yun Feng said this, he immediately understood what Bibi Dong had just said. Her beautiful eyes couldn't help but become moist. "You saved me before?" Yun Feng pondered for a moment and said slowly, "Well, I guess so." "Then you came this time because you knew I was going to play my 100th game?" Hearing Juliana's puzzled tone, Yun Feng smiled and nodded directly. "Because of the effect of my soul skills, I can freely travel through this place, and it does not affect my release of soul skills. So during this period, I have been keeping an eye on you, afraid that something will happen to you and it will be difficult to explain to your teacher." After saying that, Yun Feng directly took Bibi Dong's hand. Bibi Dong did not refuse Yun Feng's contact, because she had long been accustomed to it. In the past few years, Yu Gang's figure has completely disappeared from her heart. Instead, it was Yun Feng's constant companionship that broke into her heart. It's just that now, due to her status, she has not clearly stated that she is with Yun Feng. After seeing her teacher holding hands with the person she secretly loves, Juliana was also stunned. Chapter 393. Are you going to collapse? What the hell is going on? Her inner world almost collapsed. The murderous aura was almost out of control and directly devoured her mind. Yun Feng saw that something was wrong, and hurriedly let go of Bibi Dong's hand, and quickly helped Juliana up with Bibi Dong. After looking at each other, Yun Feng circulated his vitality, slowly opened her lips, and gently passed in. Under the influence of life energy, he slowly recovered, and there was a glimmer in his eyes. But looking at his teacher and Yun Feng at close range, He couldn't help but feel sad in his heart. Yun Feng was a playboy, so he naturally understood what this look meant. Bibi Dong was no longer a girl, so Huliena's eyes could naturally be understood. So when she saw her disciple with such an expression, she immediately looked at Yun Feng fiercely, as if to say, "It was all your good deeds." Yun Feng shrugged. He didn't want to either. But he didn't want to lie to his woman. The only one was Zook. After all, this was really unkind. After Huliena looked at the two of them for a while, she took a deep breath and forced out a smile, and slowly said, "Teacher, congratulations, when did you get together?" Facing Huliena's question, the iron-blooded Pope seemed a little embarrassed at the moment. She nudged Yun Feng with her elbow, motioning him to explain. She didn't want to cause any bad influence on her disciples at this dangerous moment because of herself. Yun Feng saw that Bibi Dong was unwilling to speak, and was a little helpless, so he could only tell the story himself. After clearing his throat, he slowly talked about their previous affairs. In fact, it is very simple to be with Bibi Dong. Just take advantage of the opportunity. No matter how strong Bibi Dong is, she is just a woman who lacks love. Under the rogue offensive of Yun Feng, he would teleport directly to Bibi Dong's bedroom and chat with her about life whenever he had something to do. Who can bear this? So, it was natural for them to be together. It's just that Yun Feng hasn't hit a home run yet. Yun Feng's voice was very clear, and his narration was very organized. Even Huliena was fascinated by it without realizing it. After listening, Huliena fell into silence, and suddenly smiled and said to Yun Feng and Bibi Dong, "Thank you." Bibi Dong was about to continue to say something, but was interrupted by Huliena, who spoke immediately. "Teacher, what is the matter with you and Yun Feng this time?" Bibi Dong looked at Huliena's eyes, and then looked at Yun Feng. After a moment of silence, she still said, "This time, I just came to see you. Yun Feng came to clear the side effects of murderous aura for you. Otherwise, you can't play in the game in your current state, and you can't pass the 100th game." Huliena nodded, as if everything before had been put down. She smiled and nodded, looking at Yun Feng, and slowly said, "Then I'll trouble you." After Yun Feng shook his head to indicate that he didn't care, he turned on his halo and poured out all the life energy that Bai Ji had stored in Yun Feng's body. With the help of the magic beans, the negative influences on Huliena were quickly washed away, but the murderous aura was retained. Under the influence of the life energy and the halo, the blood red in Huliena's eyes quickly dissipated and became clear. After Huliena recovered, Bibi Dong also said, "Nair, do you remember what your teacher said before?" "Teacher, what do you mean?" Seeing that she was a little confused, Bibi Dong also said seriously, "That is the road to hell." Hearing this, Huliena nodded. "I know." Bibi Dong glanced at Yun Feng and continued, "I mean, when you go through the road to hell, Yun Feng will come to help you." Yun Feng was also a little surprised to hear Bibi Dong suddenly talking about him. There are many theories about the formation of the City of Slaughter, but the most reliable one is that it is a special domain left behind by a great strong man who broke through the limit of level 100, and the name of this domain is called the Domain of the God of Killing. If you can get through the Hell Road, it is equivalent to gaining recognition from the Domain of the God of Killing. The Domain of the God of Killing will absorb his own murderous aura, forming his own domain, which is attributed to the martial soul, also known as the innate domain of the martial soul. This increase is equivalent to the soul master who passed the test of the Hell Road having one more skill than the ordinary soul master, and it is the most valuable domain type skill. Bibi Dong paused, pointed at Yun Feng and said, "This kind of domain is similar to the one you just displayed. Although you can't see it, you can clearly feel it. There will be great benefits after getting it." But Huliena frowned. "Teacher, this won't work. He doesn't have that much murderous aura. If he enters there without a strong murderous aura as a guarantee, he will be immediately swallowed by the fierce aura in the Hell Road, and his life will be in danger. Even if his domain skills are good, you can't just watch him die." Bibi Dong saw Huliena so anxious, and felt a little sad, but didn't show it at all. "With you here, plus Yun Feng's strength, the teacher can rest assured. Otherwise I will worry about your safety." After entering, Yun Feng will come to your side immediately, and you can wrap him with murderous aura at that time. When he heard this, Yun Feng smiled and shook his head, and said slowly, "Who said I don't have murderous aura?" In the surprised eyes of Bibi Dong and Huliina, Yun Feng directly summoned his martial soul Blue-Silver Emperor. The sixth soul ring on his body began to flash. The sixth soul ring was a 60,000-year-old mirror beast that Yun Feng obtained, and it gained an ability, that is, copy and absorb. Yun Feng named his soul skill Sea Accepts 100 Rivers. Under the gazes of the two women, the Blue-Silver Emperor turned into a blue light, and a strong devouring ability immediately emanated from his body. The City of Slaughter is not short of murderous aura. Under the influence of Yun Feng's sixth soul skill, these murderous auras turned into red lights, slowly filling Yun Feng's body. In the horrified eyes of the two women, these murderous auras seemed to be tamed. It was even better than Huliina's. After seeing that the effect was achieved, Yun Feng directly withdrew his soul power. At this moment, the murderous aura seemed to turn into invisible matter and dissipated inside the room. "In this way, I can go in," Yun Feng said to Huliina with a smile, and Huliina nodded subconsciously. "You are a soul emperor, of course, isn't this a simple thing?" Huliina didn't know what expression to make now. It's so annoying. The target that she had been chasing for so long seems to be ahead of her now. And from the move just now, it seems that Yun Feng absorbed more than just the killing intent. And it seems that he can absorb other things. Imagine that your ultimate move directly hits him without causing any damage, but he counterattacks you with an identical ultimate move, and it is much more powerful than yours. Would you collapse? Chapter 394 The King of Killing appears. Huliina was silent again. What was her persistence? Bibi Dong saw that her disciple was in a bad mood. After rolling her eyes at Yun Feng again, she said seriously, "Nair, don't be discouraged. He is just a special case, so you don't need to regard him as a target to catch up with. What you need to do is to develop the Wuhan Hall after the teacher and contribute to the prosperity of this continent." This time, Bibi Dong and Yun Feng chatted with Huliina in Huliina's room for a long time before going back. After Huliina looked at the place where Yun Feng and the teacher disappeared, a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Just when she left, the teacher had hinted to her, as if he didn't mind the master and apprentice. This also ignited Huliina's hope. After all, there is nothing better than this. And the reason why the teacher did that, in fact, Huliina could guess a little. That is, Yun Feng had too many women. If there is no eight, it is really a bit difficult to snatch. Since it is found that her disciple also likes it, then this matter is much easier to solve. 3 days later, the killing field of hell. The last opponent was killed by a headshot under Huliina's sword. Even she couldn't help but raise her hands high at this time, releasing the terrifying and bloody killing aura all over her body without reservation. 100 games. The agreement with the teacher was finally fulfilled. The murderous aura that was almost tangible formed a huge vortex in the air. Around the huge venue, a large number of fallen people watching the game were silent under the huge murderous aura released by him. The words Hell Killer are like the symbol of death here. Everyone is afraid of the Hell Killer because none of her opponents can leave a complete body, even a head. Regardless of life or death, the Hell Killer will always habitually step on the head of each enemy to ensure her victory. The killing aura may not be proportional to strength, but at this time, Huliina is an opponent that no one in the City of Slaughter wants to face. Congratulations, young Hellslayer. A deep and sharp voice suddenly came from all directions. The murderous aura released by Huliina actually poured back at the moment the voice sounded and was pressed back into her body, causing Huliina's face to turn pale. Fortunately, Yun Feng had helped her clean up the impurities 3 days ago, otherwise she would have suffered enough. The atmosphere in the Hell Slaughter field suddenly rose to the extreme, because in the air, a blood-red figure was falling from the sky. King of Slaughter! King of Slaughter! King of Slaughter! The shouting made the fallen people hoarse, but they had no intention of stopping. Huliina's heart was awed, and her eyes looked at the scarlet figure in the air. It was tall man, wrapped in a huge scarlet cloak, with a pale face and a pair of completely blood-red eyes. His body slowly descended from the air, as if he didn't need to be restricted by gravity at all. The same scene was seen by everyone in the spirit hall. Huliina was sure that the King of Slaughter who descended from the sky was definitely a titled Buo level warrior. suspended in the air 5 meters above the ground. The King of Slaughter stopped descending and looked down at Huliina from the air. After a moment of silence, he turned his gaze to the viewing platform of the hell-killing field. I am very happy to witness the birth of a strong warrior in the killing field today. The victory that has not appeared for decades has been shown in this young man. With her powerful strength and terrifying murderous aura, she makes you tremble, right, my people? Yes, yes, yes. The King of Slaughter seemed to have a unique charm, which made all the fallen people have an almost crazy worship after seeing him. From him, Huliina could smell a faint sweet and fishy smell, which made people feel a little intoxicated. Unfortunately, for her, Huliina, this effect was not very big. The King of Slaughter lowered his head, looked at Huliina, and said with a smile, "Hell Slaughterer, thank you for letting me feel the existence of our miracles again. Beisheng, very good. In order to commend your achievements, I decided to make an exception and grant you the title of God of Slaughter. From now on, you can enter and leave the Slaughter City on your own, and be hired as a guest of the Slaughter City under me. No need to take the Hell Road." This was Huliina's first thought, which was undoubtedly the safest, but Huliina remembered the words of her teacher and Yun Feng, and did not make a decision immediately. Instead, she wanted to see what tricks the King of Slaughter wanted to play. Taking the Hell Road is undoubtedly extremely dangerous, but behind the danger, there is the huge temptation of the God of Slaughter domain. The King of Slaughter in front of him obviously did not want her to obtain the God of Slaughter domain. Why? The King of Slaughter's eyes condensed. "I'm afraid you don't know the horror of the Hell Road, Hellslayer. I hope you understand that people only have one life." Huliina smiled and said, "No need, great King of Slaughter. You can't break the rules of the Slaughter City because of me. I am willing to pass the test of the Hell Road and then get your reward. I hope to rely on my own strength to walk out of here and become a true God of Slaughter." Red light flashed from the eyes of the King of Slaughter. Circles of light red halos were released from the King of Slaughter. If he hadn't been worried, he would have destroyed the man in front of him. With Huliina's current strength, she was just like an ant in front of him. But he couldn't do that, because he was afraid that the Slaughter City would be destroyed because of this. Although this Dark World has something to rely on, if it provokes the people behind Huliina, then I'm afraid it will also be overturned. In that case, then you can walk the Hell Road. The scenery on the Hell Road is also a good trip. If you can pass the test of the Hell Road and become the new generation of the God of Killing, please say hello to your elders on my behalf. The tone of the King of Killing became obviously colder, and even carried a hint of irony. Is the Hell Road really that easy to break through? Thick red mist was suddenly released from the King of Killing, and the huge breath forced Huliina to retreat quickly. She had to retreat dozens of meters before she could barely bear it. The King of Killing did not release murderous aura, but an extremely evil aura, which was so cold that it would stiffen people's bones. The evil and cold red ripples slowly spread out, and in just a few blinks of an eye, they had spread to the entire audience. The fallen people sitting in the audience were all surprisingly excited. They all wanted to see the opening of the Hell Road, but what they didn't know was that their lives had come to an end. Except for the God of Killing and the King of Slaughter, no one had ever seen the opening of the Hell Road, because everyone who had seen it was dead, or in other words, they had all become sacrifices for the opening of the Hell Road. Huliina soon discovered that although the red light released from the King of Slaughter brought them great pressure, the red light was not directed at them, but towards the surrounding stands. Chapter 395 Good luck on the road to hell. The fallen who were cheering wildly gradually became quiet as the red light landed on the viewing platform. The eyes of each fallen gradually became dull, and then turned from dull to bloodshot red. Not long after, when the red light formed a huge barrier on the entire hell-killing field, painful screams began to sound from the first person who came into contact with the red light. Affected by the red light, those fallen seemed to be crazy. They desperately grabbed their faces and bodies. The fallen who were able to survive in the inner city, most of them had a certain strength. At this time, they completely applied their strength to themselves. Even the screams contained extreme excitement, as if they had gained unlimited enjoyment in the process. The skin rolled up and blood spurted. They even took out their internal organs from their bodies. It would not stop until the end of life. More and more fallen experienced such changes until it spread throughout the field. Although Juliana had experienced countless killings in this killing city, she still turned pale in the face of such a large-scale horror. Even if the killing energy in her body was purified, she felt that she could not suppress it. However, when she thought that the people in this place were basically extremely evil criminals, Juliana had no so-called mercy for a moment. The blood fell on the ground and began to condense. A large amount of blood flowed like streams along the inconspicuous small pipes under the audience seats to the central venue of the killing field. It was clearly visible that countless winding red liquids flowed into the field like small snakes. It is their honor to be the sacrifice to open the road to hell. The low voice of the King of Killing sounded. At this time, the screams had gradually stopped, except for Juliana and the King of Killing. There seemed to be no living people here. The King of Killing glanced at Juliana and found that her face did not change at all. He sighed. The will is too firm. The blood flowed into the field, but did not spread in a straight line. On the ground, grooves appeared at some point, and the blood flowed into them. Gradually, it gathered into a huge blood-red pattern on the ground. At this time, Juliana was in the pattern, and it was difficult to see its full appearance. Although she had a head soul bone, her mental power was much stronger than that of ordinary soul masters. She closed her eyes at the same time, released her mental power in the air, and observed the situation around her. She found that the pattern condensed by blood was actually a bird-like creature, but it looked a little strange and not as simple as an ordinary bird. What is this? Just when Juliana was confused, suddenly, the bird's eyes lit up, and Juliana's mental power was almost shattered in an instant. A huge red light rushed into the sky and instantly swept Juliana's body. All the perceptions around her became blurred, and only the low and sharp voice of the King of Killing echoed in her ears. Good luck on the road to hell. At the moment when her mental power was shredded, Juliana finally figured out the appearance of the bird-shaped pattern. A bat. It seemed to be a pattern of a bat. That was the decorative pattern on the body of the King of Slaughter. Under the blood-red engulfment, Juliana felt her feet go empty at the same time. Everything around her became illusory, and all her perceptions were completely closed at this moment. The pain that she could not control caused her to have an inexplicable fear in her heart. What she could not see was that the murderous aura on each of them gathered into a layer of light white ripples to protect their bodies. If it were not for the existence of these murderous auras, she would have been truly engulfed at the moment when the blood color spread. The soul power released itself, lingering around Juliana's body layer by layer. There was an extra layer of pink light. Compared with the cold, evil, and dead breath in the blood light, the pink light released from Juliana's body was not strong, but it was full of the breath of life. The tenacious vitality firmly protected Juliana. Not only was the blood light from the outside world isolated, but even the layer of murderous aura was completely isolated. This layer of life energy was exactly what Yun Feng had left on her before. Therefore, although Juliana could not control everything in the outside world now, the temporary blocking of the murderous aura made him not need to bear the huge pressure, and his body felt much more comfortable. After an unknown amount of time, all senses were restored with violent shock. The blood light around gradually faded. When Juliana was fully awake, she found herself on a circular platform. The platform was only about 5 meters in diameter, not very large, and Juliana fell to the ground. Because Yun Feng had already washed away the hostility in Juliana's heart before she entered the road to hell. Otherwise, she would have a mental breakdown, and at that moment, Juliana might not be able to get up. Hostility will instantly destroy Juliana's mind, which is irreversible. Juliana is a smart person, so she will naturally not act blindly. It is obviously the most important thing to observe the surrounding situation first. After a careful observation, she couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. The situation in front of her was much more sinister than they had imagined. Everything around her showed a faint blood-red color. Outside the circular platform with a diameter of 5 meters under her feet, there was actually a deep abyss. In addition, a narrow path less than half a foot wide, which could only accommodate the width of 2 feet standing at the same time, led to the unknown darkness, and this was also the only way to the outside world on her platform. After Juliana stood there and waited for a while, There was a wave in the space in front of her. Less than 3 seconds later, Yun Feng collapsed directly from the void. But before he could speak, he began to fall directly. After Yun Feng felt a sense of weightlessness, his face was full of question marks. But before he could think too much, he directly summoned his martial soul and flew up on the sword. He almost fell directly. Huliina laughed when she saw Yun Feng in such a miserable state. Puff Yun Feng's face was full of black lines, and he cursed and looked at the abyss underground and said, "What a broken road, it's so broken that even a person can't stand." After saying that, he slowly walked down from the sword and came to Huliina's side. Seeing that she was still laughing, Yun Feng also held his forehead with a bit of helplessness. Because the space was small, the two were close to each other. The atmosphere suddenly became ambiguous, because Yun Feng could feel the warmth and softness of Huliina. Huliina could also feel the masculine scent of Yun Feng, which kept flowing into her nose. Her face turned red. After a moment of silence, Yun Feng smiled awkwardly, pointed at the blood red below, and said slowly, "I wonder what's below?" Chapter 396 Small Tent. In fact, Yun Feng didn't care so much about the dangerous situation in front of him. Not to mention that he could fly. There was Tang San's flying god claw in the ring. He could easily ensure that he would not fall from above. Let me see. Huliina didn't guard against Yun Feng, because if Yun Feng wanted to kill her, there was no need for such means. She couldn't beat her even in a head-on fight. Looking down from the outside of the round platform to the abyss below, it was dark and hazy below, and Huliina couldn't see the situation inside at all. After getting up, she shook her head at Yun Feng, but it didn't bother Yun Feng. Blue gold light spewed out from his eyes, instantly shortening the distance. Turning over and jumping up, Yun Feng's expression looked a little weird. "How is it? Can you see clearly?" Huliina asked calmly. Yun Feng nodded. "There is blood below, or a pool of blood, if I guess correctly. The pool of blood below should be the human blood accumulated in the slaughter city over the years, which is what they call the sacrifice of Bloody Mary to this hell road." Huliina looked thoughtful, and after a while, she said, "From a simple analysis, this hell road is not only the path to leave the slaughter city, but also the core of the entire slaughter city." As soon as she said this, she obviously found that Yun Feng's eyes lit up on the opposite side. The two of them said almost in unison, "Or it is the energy source of the strange field of the slaughter city." Seeing that the other party said the same thing as herself, Huliina blushed and turned her head away. Yun Feng didn't say anything, but at the same time, he couldn't help but be secretly surprised. This Huliina is really smart, worthy of being Bibi Dong's direct descendant. Huliina's performance, for passing through the hell road, it is obviously a good thing. Huliina naturally didn't know what Yun Feng was thinking, and continued her analysis. "Yun Feng, have you noticed that in this killing city, the most important thing is blood? The so-called Bloody Mary appears almost everywhere here. Just as the teacher said, this blood contains chronic poison, but it can also play a certain role in excitement. There are many ways to control people. Why do the rulers of the killing city always use blood? Is it just to give people a more mysterious feeling? I don't think so. There must be some secret in it." Yun Feng knew it, but he didn't say anything immediately. At this time, the two showed their strong psychological quality. For ordinary people, when they come to a strange and terrifying place, they can't wait to leave. But Yun Feng and Huliina didn't do this. The two sat down on the round table, calmed their hearts and breathed. They didn't know what kind of crisis they were about to face, and keeping in the best condition was their best choice now. And even if they faced any danger, Yun Feng didn't really care. Now he has long been a sole emperor. He also privately challenged Zhu Gubo, Chen Xin, Gu Rong, Yu Guan and Gui Mai. After both sides used their full strength, they were actually the same. Yun Feng dared to be so bold after seeing his own fighting power. Compared with Yun Feng's satisfaction, the 5 people who competed with Yun Feng were numb in their hearts. Although they knew that Yun Feng was powerful, they did not expect that Yun Feng, who was only a sole emperor, could compete with them. Who could bear this? However, after thinking that Yun Feng was one of their own, they became more and more satisfied in their hearts. During the time when Huliina was recovering, Yun Feng had already used his mental power to start exploring here. After a while, Huliina opened her eyes, Hulina untied her belt and quickly took off her coat, revealing the underwear inside. Her underwear was pink, with a small pink vest on her upper body, which only tightly covered the most important parts, and a pair of pink shorts on her lower body that just passed the thighs. When the coat was taken off, the secret of her figure was revealed. Normally, Hulina's body was always wrapped in black clothes, and her whole body was well hidden. Now Feng was stunned, and then looked at Hulina in shock and said, "What are you doing?" Hulina raised her head, her face flushed, and whispered to Feng, "It's hot." Feng didn't know what to say, but since it was like this, Feng directly grabbed Hulina's hand and said to her, "Are you recovered?" Hulina nodded, hugged Hulina directly, and then said to her, "Since you are well, let's go and see what secrets are here." The moment she was hugged by Feng, Hulina suddenly felt that her heart slowed down by half a beat. It kept beating. Feng summoned his martial soul, stepped on the sword body, and flew directly in his space. Hulina seemed to feel Feng's thoughts, and smiled brightly. She was fully confident in her charm. Due to the characteristics of her martial soul, she began to receive special charm training at a very young age. Hulina asked herself, maybe there are girls who are prettier than her, but there is no way that there is a girl who is more attractive than her. Because Feng's current performance has already exposed his thoughts, the small tent has been erected, and he still pretends to be so serious. But Hulina didn't do anything. After all, she is also a girl. Although she knows this knowledge because of her martial spirit, she is still a new player after all. Feng looked down at Hulina and happened to see Hulina straighten her chest. She was born with a charming bone, and even such a small action made Feng's heart warm. He quickly raised his head and looked forward, converged his mental power, and eliminated the distracting thoughts in his heart. "Let's go." Hulina looked at Feng's appearance and couldn't help laughing in her heart, thinking, "It seems that you are not really a stone." However, she quickly put away the idea of teasing Feng. Her eyes turned cold, and her mind was completely focused, observing everything around her. She didn't believe that the road to hell was so simple. "Don't look down." Feng reminded Hulina that his flying speed was not fast. Feng held Hulina in front, his eyes narrowed slightly. His mental power focused on the front. The darkness in the distance was not a big problem for him, but even with his mental power, he could only barely see a distance of about 1,000 meters in this light. Moreover, at a distance, the vision became blurred. His hands naturally drooped at his waist, ready to fight at any time. In this way, maintaining a harmonious rhythm, the two slowly disappeared in the dark red. The round platform behind them had disappeared. Flying forward, Feng suddenly stopped, and Hulina on him almost subconsciously tensed up, which showed how focused she was now. "What's wrong?" Hulina asked in a low voice. Chapter 397. This little bat can't do anything to me, Feng said in a deep voice. "We have flown so far, have you noticed that the air is getting hotter? Moreover, it seems that it is no longer quiet here. There are sounds around, although they are very subtle and still far away. Their target should be us. Be careful." After hearing Feng's words, Hulina couldn't help but be secretly surprised. Although she knew that Feng had strong strength, she didn't expect his mental power to be so strong. At this time, she didn't feel the sound that Feng said, but she did feel the temperature. This proved that Feng's mental power was better than hers. His strength is already so strong, and his mental power is even stronger than her who majored in charm. Hulina didn't know what to say about this. She just stared at Feng for a while and slowly said two words, "Pervert." Feng was confused. Although he didn't know why Hulina called him that, it was not the time to relax his vigilance. He directly summoned the blue silver emperor, held it in his hand, expanded the vines under his feet a little, and put Hulina down. Gradually, the subtle sound also gradually appeared in Hulina's spiritual world. The sound was not strong, but the frequency was very fast. Just as Feng said, these subtle sounds were approaching their direction. Suddenly, Feng frowned and said anxiously, "I know why I feel hot. The blood pool below is closer to us." How is this possible? There is no slope as we move forward. Hulina looked at the abyss next to her in surprise. She still couldn't see anything. At a glance, she felt dizzy. She quickly stood up and didn't dare to look again. Yun Feng said in a deep voice, "The blood pool below was about 1,000 meters away from us before, but now the distance should have shortened to about 900 meters. Therefore, I can feel the temperature change. It seems that the blood pool may not be blood, but magma. If the temperature continues to increase as we move forward, then I can almost be sure that our last section of the road will most likely be submerged in the blood pool, and that is the truly difficult section of the road to hell." After hearing Yun Feng's words, Huliina couldn't help but feel awe in her heart. After a simple analysis, she came to the same conclusion. Yun Feng said in a deep voice, "Don't worry about it for now. No matter what, let's deal with the crisis in front of us first. Here it comes." The buzzing sound became louder and louder. Indistinctly, Yun Feng could see some red shadows approaching quickly with his mental power. Soon he understood why the frequency of the sound in his mental perception was so fast. Because the flying creatures were not one or two, but a group, at least a group of thousands. As they got closer, they could finally see the flying creatures clearly. They were blood-red bats, just like the smaller version of the blood-red pattern left on the ground of the hell-killing field. Each blood bat was about 1 foot long, but its huge wings spread out to more than 1 meter. 1 or 2 blood bats like this were nothing, but thousands of them appeared at once, like a red cloud, flying quickly towards Yun Feng and Huliina. At this time, Huliina's face had become very ugly. She put the long sword in front of her chest and asked in a deep voice, "What should I do?" Yun Feng smiled and said slowly, "These little bats can't do anything to me." As soon as he closed his words, in Huliina's perspective, Yun Feng directly used his fourth soul skill, and the black light on his body was very bright. The blue-silver emperor continued to differentiate in the air, and in the blink of an eye it turned into a torrent of vines, constantly sweeping the bats in front of it. It was not that there were no fish that slipped through the net. Yun Feng saw Huliina behind him and didn't care much. If she can't even handle these few, then her 2 years in the city of slaughter will be in vain. Huliina turned her body quickly and came to Yun Feng's back. Her body was directly on Yun Feng's back. Her protruding buttocks were just below Yun Feng's buttocks. The sudden elasticity almost caused a crack in Yun Feng's rigorous mind. Obviously feeling Yun Feng's movement, Huliina couldn't help but slightly move away, not letting herself and Yun Feng stick as close as before. No matter how outstanding she is a woman after all. In this unknown and terrifying environment, she naturally feels dependent on Yun Feng. Not to mention that she has fallen in love with Yun Feng after 2 years of self-attack. Besides, the biggest obstacle is that her teacher also agreed to this matter. What reason does she have to reject this impulse in her heart? But it wasn't long before the vine torrent destroyed those bats, and the smell of blood immediately attracted more bats. The blood-red bats flew very fast and were close in a short while. Their eyes were also blood-red. When they found their target, they made a cackle and showed their sharp fangs. Thousands of blood bats flapped their wings together, bringing a fishy wind. Yun Feng and Huliina were shaken immediately. After Yun Feng stabilized the blue-silver emperor, the two of them could not help but stick together. They were completely folded together. Their buttocks were touching, but at this time, both of them had a little lust. But they quickly abandoned this idea and focused their minds on the approaching blood bats. Huliina was not dissatisfied with Yun Feng's actions. She knew that Yun Feng was using the common weight of their bodies to resist the wind. 2 people leaning against each other was always better than 1 person. Moreover, she immediately felt that Yun Feng behind her stood firm like a mountain, without any shaking, because she was already behind Yun Feng, and naturally followed and stood firm, able to concentrate her mind. With Yun Feng's help, Huliina was greatly encouraged, and the murderous aura accumulated in her body was suddenly released. It was reflected on her cold and delicate face. She took a deep breath, and her eyes gradually turned pink. Although her soul skills were suppressed, it did not affect her release of her martial soul. The blood bats in the air seemed to have wisdom. They did not rush to attack the two, but quickly circled in the air and surrounded the two. At this time, it was equivalent to that every direction of Yun Feng and Huliina's body had blood bats ready to attack. There are so many bats. The vine is actually just that big. Even if Yun Feng fully expands it, it is only the size of a bed. And they have to face the strong wind, so the two have no choice but to stay close together. Yun Feng narrowed his eyes slightly and threw out a vine. Chapter 398 I'm afraid we are in trouble. A cold light shot out. It flew straight to the nearest blood bat. Who knew the blood bat's body swayed slightly in the air and actually dodged the vines sent by Yun Feng. Yun Feng was awed. Huliina had whispered, "Bats are not like other birds. They have a special keen ability to easily grasp the enemy's attack. That is a special ability that even mental power cannot affect. Unless the speed exceeds the limit of their reaction, it is difficult to hurt them." But Yun Feng smiled lightly and did not care about Huliina's words. Under his gaze, he saw that the vine that was dodged actually turned back and pierced through it directly, falling into the abyss. "I'll solve this problem. When they start to attack, you just take care of yourself." After seeing this scene, Huliina naturally nodded very readily. Since Yun Feng has this ability, what should he worry about? Okay, it is not advisable to talk too much. Huliina immediately agreed and did not relax her spirit. If it weren't for Yun Feng by her side, at this moment, she was probably unable to bear the mental pressure. In such a place, she had no roots under her feet and could not use her flexibility at all. Facing so many blood bats, she was already in a situation where she was doomed to die, especially when she could not use her soul skills. She did not know why Yun Feng was not affected. In fact, Yun Feng naturally knew why. Looking at the silver diamond scale on his right hand, a smile flashed in his eyes, and judging from the reaction speed of the blood bats dodging Yun Feng's attack just now, this kind of bat should be a different species among bats. Regardless of speed and attack, it is the best choice, and it may even be highly poisonous. Perhaps it was because of Yun Feng's vine that aroused the anger of the blood bats. The next moment, dozens of bats on the innermost side suddenly rushed towards them. Before, Yun Feng wanted to figure out what the difference was between these things. Now being blocked here is not a solution. After Yun Feng glanced at Huliina, his mind moved. One after another, the torn cloth figures appeared in Huliina's ears. Turning back, Yun Feng's shirt had become strips of cloth, revealing the strong muscle lines. On his back, there were two pairs of wings transformed from the blue-silver emperor. In a moment, he broke out of his body, and then formed a vine trap in the air, trapping all the blood bats inside. After thinking about it, he attacked again. The vine swept towards the blood bats. The formation left behind also began to play its role, not only limiting the soul power of the blood bats, but also constantly killing them. The shrill screams continued to rise, because there were at least nearly 100 blood bats trapped in the vine trap. In a flash of cold light, their bodies fell like rain. The blood bats were obviously disturbed by Yun Feng's actions just now. Yun Feng took this opportunity to go directly to the sky, and rushed away with Huliina, breaking through the previous encirclement. Although the blood bats still refused to give up, when they caught up again, they had kept a certain distance from Yun Feng and Huliina as much as possible. They didn't dare to get too close, so the two of them were obviously safer. At this time, because the blood bats didn't dare to get too close, the impact of the wind force of their wings naturally became smaller, which made Huliina feel a little relieved. At least she didn't have to worry about falling all the time. Just as Yun Feng judged, the air around them began to heat up gradually, and the temperature kept rising. Although the blood bats behind them were a threat, the heat rising from the abyss on both sides made Yun Feng and Huliina more vigilant. Squeak! A larger blood bat suddenly called out, and then, all the remaining blood bats began to make sharp whimpers. Their voices were extremely piercing, and Yun Feng frowned when he heard it. At this time, he suddenly felt that Huliina's steps behind him began to slow down and gradually stopped. "I'm afraid we're in trouble," Huliina said in a deep voice, straightening up at the same time, ready for battle. Yun Feng turned around and looked forward. He saw something rare right in front of their narrow road. Below the narrow road, a huge guy was hanging upside down. Under the reddish light around him, it was emitting dark golden light. The guy was about 4 meters long, and his two huge claws were clasped on the narrow road. Each claw had a diameter of more than 1 meter, and it was sharp and dug into the stone. Amid the screams of a large number of blood bats, a pair of huge wings slowly opened from the dark golden body. The terrifying wingspan was as wide as 10 meters, and the claws suddenly loosened. With the flapping of the huge wings, its huge body flew up. It turned out to be an extremely huge bat. The whole body was dark golden, and the most terrifying thing was that it had 3 heads. All the blood bats flew quickly through the air and gathered behind the huge dark golden 3-headed bat. Yun Feng murmured, "It seems that the younger brother has been beaten, and now the elder brother has come out to take revenge." The blue-silver emperor reappeared, and Huliena showed her long swords in both hands. The two stood there quietly, constantly regulating their soul power by taking deep breaths. The head in the middle of the dark gold 3-headed bat let out a whine, spread its terrifying wings, and suddenly pounced on Yun Feng and Huliena. Before its huge body fell, an incomparable and tyrannical momentum had already rushed towards them, and the terrifying wind was more terrifying than all the previous blood-red bats combined. Yun Feng immediately judged that the strength of this dark gold 3-headed bat was definitely above that of an ordinary 10,000-year soul beast. But Yun Feng was not afraid, and the restrictions here were of no use to him. Guduina was a god after all, so the reverse scales on her body were placed on her body, with some of its characteristics, and the most important ones were elements and space. In addition, the ancient empty beast fish absorbed by Yun Feng had the power of space, so this restriction had no effect on him. Under the condition that he can release soul skills, let alone a soul beast of 10,000 years old, as long as it is not a soul beast of the level of BG and the others, he has the confidence to fight with it. In the past few years, Yun Feng has gone to the Titan Giant Ape and the Azure Bull Python to learn from them. So Yun Feng is not very worried about the dark gold 3-headed bat in front of him. On the contrary, Huliena is subconsciously afraid of accidents. After all, facing such a huge and flying guy, and in this kind of terrain, obviously, it is extremely disadvantageous. "Be careful," Huliena said quickly. "If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 399 Is my back broad? Yun Feng smiled and said nothing more. He just slowly wrapped the two of them with his soul power, and the blue-silver emperor armor on his body began to spread to half of his body. Feeling the momentum of Yun Feng, Huliena was refreshed, and her eyes suddenly became sharp. With a slight shake of her head, her long hair suddenly turned from black to fiery red. She put it on her chest, her eyes burst out with pink light, staring at the dark gold 3-headed bat in the air. The dark gold 3-headed bat that was flying towards her was watched by Huliena's eyes. The body actually shook a little, and the speed was obviously reduced. The next moment, it had rushed into Yun Feng's blue-silver field. Affected by the blue-silver field, the body of the dark gold 3-headed bat shook more violently, but it did not lose control like its younger brothers. Instead, it screamed, and a circle of dark red ripples spread from its head, covering Yun Feng and Huliena. Huliena's waist tightened, and she was already held by Yun Feng with both hands. The next moment, her whole body was thrown backwards by Yun Feng, and Yun Feng himself jumped up following Huliena's body. The blue-silver emperor was thrown out at the moment when his body flew behind him, and went straight to the dark gold 3-headed bat. Boom boom. Two huge roars sounded at the same time. Under the invasion of the circle of dark red ripples released by the dark gold 3-headed bat, under the invasion of the circle of dark red ripples released by the dark gold 3-headed bat, where they were before, the narrow road about 5 meters long was completely shattered, and countless rubble fell into the abyss. Fortunately, Yun Feng could control the blue-silver emperor at will, so he didn't fall down. The reason why Yun Feng didn't kill it was that he wanted to try how powerful this thing was, otherwise it would have flown to the end long ago. I still tell you so much, the most important thing is Huliena. Yun Feng is afraid that because of his influence, Huliena's experience in the City of Slaughter is not good, and she may even miss the position of Sure God. After all, as long as you break out from here, you actually have the opportunity to get attention. Yun Feng didn't think about this. After all, he felt that he didn't need this thing, and he didn't want to pick up other people's leftovers. If possible, he wanted to become a god himself, Anyway, there was nothing wrong with Huliena taking it. She had already been identified by him, but at the same time when the narrow road under their feet was partially destroyed, the vines thrown by Yun Feng's blue-silver emperor also accurately bombarded the big head in the center of the dark gold three-headed bat. What is the power of the vines of the blue-silver emperor? Although the body of the dark gold three-headed bat is extremely tough, in front of the terrifying destructive power, its central head was instantly smashed to pieces. With a wail, it flapped its wings and flew back. Huliena was also under Yun Feng's control and was caught steadily, which made her feel much better. After all, the feeling of being completely out of touch in the air before was very uncomfortable, so when she landed on the thick body of the blue-silver emperor, she felt much better. The road is destroyed. Will there be any impact? Huliena looked at Yun Feng and said slowly. Yun Feng smiled and said, "How could it have any impact? We can fly." Yun Feng flew forward directly, and at this moment, Yun Feng was shocked to find that the dark gold three-headed bat flew back to the camp of the younger brothers and swallowed 3 younger brothers. The head in the middle of it actually grew out again. Yun Feng didn't care so much at this time. After it approached, he whipped it again, directly cutting through the void and cutting off its head. However, Yun Feng obviously underestimated the wisdom of the dark gold three-headed bat. Another circle of dark red ripples was released. This time, it was stronger than the last time. It did not attack Yun Feng and Huliena, but directly bombarded Yun Feng's location. It understood that even if it destroyed this road, it would actually be useless. As long as the human male was there, the thing would keep flying forward, so it would be better to directly knock down the flying thing. At the critical moment, Yun Feng remained calm. The dark red ripples directly hit the blue-silver emperor vines, causing violent shaking. Amidst the loud bangs, Yun Feng and Huliena were already shaky. Huliena, in her tense situation, directly hugged Yun Feng. It seemed that she was looking for some sense of security. Yun Feng also had time to joke at this time, "Is my back broad?" After hearing this, Huliena's face suddenly turned slightly red. Looking at the dark gold three-headed bat not far away, she was directly angry. At this moment, Huliena's own strength was demonstrated. Her delicate body turned violently in the air, and a huge fiery red foxtail swung out from behind her hips, and the long hair on the foxtail instantly extended. The entire tail actually extended to 3 meters long, and at the tip of the tail, a sharp spike suddenly protruded. It fiercely pierced into the head of the dark gold three-headed bat. The dark gold three-headed bat was proud. The head in the center of it had just grown out, but he saw Yun Feng's body shooting out from below and rushing straight towards him. It had suffered a great loss at the hands of Yun Feng before, not because of its own strength, but because of carelessness. But it would not do that this time. The huge wings stretched out to both sides of the body. It caused its body to stagnate briefly in midair. Seeing the blue-silver emperor vine in Yun Feng's hand flying towards him, the head on the far left of it suddenly emitted a layer of golden light waves, not acting on the opponent, but on itself. The next moment, with the effect of a layer of golden smoke, the huge body of the dark gold three-headed bat suddenly exploded. It turned into hundreds of golden little bats flying everywhere. Although they did not fly well under the influence of the vine field that Yun Feng had just released. However, the vines actually hit only a few little bats. Clone? Yun Feng's heart trembled. He had already landed on the vines, and those dark golden little bats suddenly made an anxious humming sound. The blood bats before suddenly moved. Their goal was not to attack Yun Feng and Huliena. Instead, they pounced on the vines they were standing on, and each blood bat pounced on the vines. They all started chewing with their sharp fangs. Yun Feng wanted to laugh, but soon he couldn't. The vines turned into soul power under their fangs, and were being destroyed rapidly by hundreds of blood-red bats. Asshole! Huliena, who had just stood firm, cursed angrily. Being forced to the brink of life and death by these bats one after another, the most outstanding girl of the golden generation was completely angry. "I'll do it." Huliena moved, and her speed reached the limit in an instant. Under the cover of her fiery red hair and the huge fox tail behind her hips, she was like a ball of flowing flames. Yun Feng found that the speed Huliena showed at this time was a few points faster than the fastest speed he could reach when he was a soul master before, although there was no soul skill to assist. But her current speed is definitely not worse than that of a sensitive attack soul master of the same level. But Yun Feng knew very well that she was not a control soul master. Chapter 400. You are so beautiful, if I don't take a few more glances at you, wouldn't I be letting you down? Huliina was really angry. The fox tail behind her was raised high, and the length was extended again, reaching 5 meters. Moreover, on the foxtail that did not look very thick, each long hair stood up at this time, like a steel needle, and looked like a huge mace that was 5 meters long. She kept swinging at the bats that rushed over. Huliina's body flashed like an illusion, and the foxtail behind her swept out. Moreover, her foxtail actually produced a terrifying power that surprised Yun Feng. Wherever it passed, blood-red bats were swung and scattered. And all the blood bats that were hit, their bodies were like broken rag dolls, bursting in the air. Huliina did not stop. Using her terrifying big tail, it was like using a broom to sweep away the dust on the ground, and blood bats were constantly swept up. Although they were gnawing at a fast speed, Huliina was sweeping the ground faster. In just a few blinks, the fiery red figure passed by. At least hundreds of blood bats have been shattered to death, not to mention the blood bats. Even if the golden little bats that the dark gold three-headed bats transformed into rushed forward and were hit by her, they would be knocked back dozens of meters. Although their bodies are much tougher and will not be broken, they were also beaten to pieces and could not get close to Huliina at all. Screams rang out, and the remaining blood-red bats that were still biting flew up quickly. They dared not continue their actions, but despite this, in just a moment, the number of blood-red bats that were beaten to death by Huliina was twice that of those killed by Yun Vines before. A strong murderous aura permeated Huliina. Seeing that there was no threat from the blood-red bats, she stood there, gasping for breath. Obviously, the killing just now had consumed her a lot. With a bang, golden mist surged. The golden little bats reunited and transformed into the dark gold three-headed bat again. No, it should be called the dark gold three-headed bat king. 3 heads, 6 small eyes stared fiercely at Yun Feng and Huliina. Obviously, it was also enraged, seeing so many of its minions being injured or killed. Strange screams continued to sound from the 3 heads of the dark gold three-headed bat king at the same time. Huliina's face changed, and she said in a deep voice, "It should be about to use some powerful skills." At this time, the dark gold three-headed bat king was 50 meters away from them. Seeing this, Yun Feng threw a vine over again. He cut off a head, but it was useless. It quickly recovered by devouring its minions. Seeing this, Huliina frowned and said, "This guy has the ability to regenerate. If I guess correctly, the skill it is using now should be to amplify itself. If we let it complete the amplification, we will be in trouble. We just can't find its weak point." Yun Feng said indifferently, "Its weak point should still be the 3 heads. Although it can regenerate, I don't believe that when its 3 heads are broken at the same time, they can grow out. Without the head, how can it devour its younger brother?" Huliina's eyes lit up, and then she said, "Then try it quickly." Seeing Huliina so anxious, Yun Feng smiled, pointed to his face and said, "Kiss me, and I will do it." Seeing Yun Feng still thinking about this kind of thing in this situation, Huliina looked at the dark gold three-headed bat not far away, and a trace of joy emerged in her heart. But she still pretended to be dissatisfied on the surface. She has read a lot of books. After all, her martial soul is this one that mainly cultivates the enchanting illusion. So naturally she has to understand some people's thoughts. Books are a good choice. As the saint of the spirit hall, she naturally couldn't just casually find someone to fall in love with. So she learned a lot of knowledge by reading books. When facing Yun Feng, she naturally used it. "It's already this time, and you're still thinking about this." After saying that, she reluctantly sucked on Yun Feng's face. Then she pretended to be disgusted and shy. There was an idea deep in her heart. What you can't get is the best. She can't give it away easily. The cry of the dark gold three-headed bat king has become louder and louder. The light on its body has become more and more dazzling. Yun Feng got what he wanted, so naturally he didn't drag it on. His eyes burst out with blue light. Under Huliina's gaze, the blue light suddenly spurted out of Yun Feng's eyes, and it was the first to arrive. and it directly hit the head in the middle of the dark gold three-headed Bat King. Then as Yun Feng's eyes shifted, the light began to sweep towards the other two heads. Boom, boom. There was no suspense. The bat heads shot by the mental power exploded one after another. The dark gold three-headed Bat King didn't even scream. The golden light spread instantly, and with a bang, a large amount of golden liquid flew everywhere. All the blood bats around that were splashed by the golden liquid died in a scream. Huliena was a little surprised. "You are so strong, why didn't you just kill it before?" Yun Feng could naturally see the doubt in Huliena's eyes, but as a Sea King, it is impossible to give up any opportunity to increase favor and contact. There is a crisis, so there can be better contact, right? Yun Feng is well aware of this. Perhaps seeing Yun Feng's ambiguous eyes, Huliena's little face suddenly turned red. After a long while, she said, "Do you want to rest for a while?" While talking, she patted her plump bear with one hand, which immediately aroused a turbulent wave. At this time, her dress was really cool, and Yun Feng was dazzled. Yun Feng nodded subconsciously. Okay. Seeing Yun Feng like this, Huliena chuckled and said, "I thought you were a piece of wood, so you can also be tempted?" Yun Feng came back to his senses, and then said confidently, "Of course, you are so beautiful, if I don't take a few more glances, wouldn't it be unfair to your plump figure?" Seeing Yun Feng so shameless, Huliena didn't know what to say. After rolling her eyes at Yun Feng, she didn't put on her clothes, still maintaining her previous appearance, sitting on the vines and began to rest. The huge foxtail turned into an orange-red light and quietly merged back into Huliena's body, and a trace of fatigue was revealed on her face. "Let's rest for a while, we have consumed a lot of energy, and we don't know what we will face later." As far as I know, there are 3 difficulties in this hell road. Each one is more difficult than the other. We should have passed the first level just now. Although Yun Feng didn't consume much energy, he still sat down with Huliena. But Yun Feng remembered something at this moment. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.